Happy hour Friday starts now. It is the Sports Bash live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. And, of course, you can watch the show live video streaming on Twitter, X, YouTube. Like and subscribe. What's up, everybody? We got a jam-packed show for you today. Phillies sweep, stay hot. They've won 8 out of 10. They get ready for the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to talk Bob Wankel in the 3 o'clock hour. Timmy Kurkjian from ESPN will join us at 5:30 tonight. So be around for Tim Kurkjian tonight on the Sports Bash Live. Football at 4, DiCecco's in the house. Mike McGarry in about 25 minutes from now. You out there. Josh Henning producing today's show. We've got a whole heck of a lot going on. Phil's win last night in a game that obviously they looked like they were down and out. It looked like they were putting up the old proverbial white flag. And here comes Bryson Stott to the rescue and gets them back in that game. It was a lot of guys that, we don't give a lot of credit to sometimes. We're going to call them out today. The bullpen last night, we'll talk a little bit about that. The start from Luzardo, not his best start. You don't have a Cy Young start every time you pitch. And I think last night was one of those nights where Luzardo, maybe wasn't his best. But, Luzardo not at his best is still pretty damn good. And I thought last night, there were so many stories in the game. Yesterday we talked about what's the story within the story. Walker throwing the 3 innings, but how he approached those 3 innings. Bryson Stott last night was 2 for 4 with 3 RBI. He had the late home run, the clutch moment for him. There are people out there. I'm not the biggest Bryson Stott guy in the world. I didn't like him moving to the leadoff spot, but one of the reasons was you turn the lineup over, and then when Stott comes up, you're not all that like, okay, you got an impactful guy. Stott has stepped into that role and really kind of solidified the top 5 in this lineup right now. Trey Turner, 310. We're going to talk a lot about him coming up with Bob Wankel. Wankel had a tweet last night about Turner comparing him to another former Philly who won a World Series. We're going to talk about that coming up with Bob. Harper's the one guy, nothing last night, had an 0 for night, did get an RBI in the game. Schwarber had just the 1 hit. So when the Phillies win and score 7 runs on a night where Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos give you nothing, that's a big night for you. That's a nice win. Marsh, 2 for 4, had the big hit in the 10th. I thought the Marsh at-bats have been much better since he's been up here, but the big home run from Stott last night really kind of solidifies the night that they had last night. And they had RBI from they had 3 from Stott. Marsh had 1, Turner, Kepler, and Harper. So 7 runs, 3 from Stott. You have a nice balance in the lineup tonight, but you don't get it from your big hitters. 3 from 9 with runners in scoring position. But I got to go to the pitching. I want to look at closer look at the pitching last night because I think there was a story there. You got Luzardo. Again, he went over 100 pitches last night, and he only could get to the 6th inning. They took him out in the 6th inning last night. And Carlos Hernandez, there's the story within the story last night, right? I saw people saying, how do you bring Carlos Hernandez into this game with 2 on in this situation? Back-to-back strikeouts, 8 pitches, 6 strikes. There are times we talk about a lot where the team makes a move and the fans scratch their head and wonder, what are you doing? And then we try to tell you many times there are times where the manager and the team say, listen, I want to see this guy in a bigger situation to see if we can give him more. The Phillies did that with Jeff Hoffman a couple of years ago. He was a guy that no one ever heard of, didn't know much about him, and they were putting him in situations like last night, and you're like, why Hoffman here? And then he would get the job done. To the point that Hoffman has become one of the premier closers in baseball now based on the Phillies kept putting him in these situations. Listen, Carlos Hernandez has a lot to do to prove and win me over, but that was a huge spot in the game last night. Banks comes in a spot that I was scratching my head at a little bit. Why was Banks pitching in that spot and did not perform? 3 runs, the home run to Diaz, a right-handed hitter who takes him yard, and it's a 3-run home run. And the next thing you know, it feels like this game is over. Romano came in, gave up a couple hits, got a strikeout. Romano's kind of settled in a little bit here. And the number that I look at for Romano, 14 pitches, 10 strikes. Alvarado, he pitches that ninth, and you're wondering after 11 pitches, are you going to throw him back out there for a second inning? And I thought the answer was going to be no, mainly because they did it the last time because they had an off day. Now you have a Guardians team that's pretty good. You want Alvarado available for the series. So they turn it over to Strom. Strom wiggles his way out with a couple of strikeouts, and he gets the job done and saves it. But this Phillies much-maligned bullpen, while they gave up 4 runs last night, the Banks homer that he gives up, I'm wondering in that spot if the Phillies are kind of like, you know what, we don't have it tonight. Tonight's not our night. Let's try to preserve bullpen here. And they let Banks continue on in that spot. He gives up the 3-run homer, which at that point, now all of a sudden, you've got a, 5-1 at that point. And then, bang, here comes the Stott home run, and you get back in that game. Next thing you know, they're fighting and kind of clawing. Fun game last night, or at least for the last 3 innings. The beginning of that game was kind of slow and boring, and you look at it and say, well, it started off with a bang, 1-1. Phillies are up 1-0. Tampa answers. Tampa takes the lead, 3 more in the 7th. The Phillies get 4 runs in the 8th and 9th inning combined, and then 2 more in the 10th. So they score 6 runs in the final 3 innings of that game to win it 7-6 last night. Alvarado gets the win. Strom gets the save. And the Phillies have now won 3 straight, and they beat this Rays team, which has kind of struggled at home. 9-16 the Rays are down there at Steinbrenner Field. I like the Steinbrenner Field thing. I kind of think it's cool to get to see Major League Baseball games in an intimate environment like that. I can't imagine the players are all that thrilled. It's dark. Watching the games there, the lighting is not that good. You've heard McCarthy mention that these are not Major League level lights, so there's a lot of dark spots in the field. They talked about the dirt on the field last night, that the guy was trying to steal the base. He had to stop, I guess, because the dirt is not the same level of quality that you use at big league parks. I mean, you do kind of feel for Tampa a little bit that they've got to play in a – listen, it's one thing. Like last night, I was thinking about this. I watched the Painter game last – did you watch the Painter game last night, Josh? By the way, it was free.
Was it?
It was a free game last night. I don't know if they just randomly pick one game to be free, but that was a free game last night on MLB, the app.
Okay.
MILB, is it?
Yeah, MILB, yeah, is the well, there's 2 ways to get it. You can go to MLB.tv or you can go to MILB.com.
Well, I watched it last night. It was a free game, but I thought to myself, think about this. Andrew Painter is pitching in a ballpark at a higher level than the Phillies game right now.
Right.
Now, he just was down there in Clearwater.
Yes.
The Phillies Clearwater Threshers play in the same league as the Yankees team that plays there at Steinbrenner Field.
Right, the Florida State League.
The Florida State League. So I guess the Yankees, Tampa, what are they called? The Tampa something? The Tampa Yankees? I don't know what they're called.
I have to look it up.
But I guess they're playing in a stadium now that has got Rays signage all over the place down there. You got to feel a little bit for the Rays that they're playing there.
The Tampa Tarpoons.
Tampa Tarpoons. There you go.
Alliteration. You like that.
So the Rays playing down there, they're 9-16. So I was starting to do a little digging on this last night. They're only playing there this year. The next year they think that Tropicana is going to be open again. I do think it's kind of cool that it's a very small, intimate environment that probably does well in the attendance. I think they had almost a full house there last night, pretty much.
Although
it's a lot
most
of Phillies
of them
fans.
were Phillies fans, yeah.
They were, but the Phillies have a lot of people that live down there. I'm wondering if it's like that for all of the games. I'm sure when the Yankees play there, there's a lot of Yankee fans that go to Tropicana anyway.
That's true.
So,
I would like to know when they play a team that does not have a Grapefruit League location.
Right.
What is that attendance like?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they're doing okay. But that being said, the field itself, I mean, it's dark there. The lighting is not great. Did you see last night during the broadcast that McCarthy said they had to actually cut out an area for their camera because they didn't have something out in center field, so they had to actually cut the thing out there in center field.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, like, just little stuff like that. And I looked at the Rays' home record. They're 9-16. They are moving back to their ballpark next year, but ultimately, I don't think that they're enjoying playing there all that much. But the Phillies went down there and did their job. They win. And, I say the game within the game. I thought the game was won. Well, the game was won at two spots. Hernandez keeping them in the game there in the sixth inning, coming in and getting the two strikeouts. When Banks tried to turn it back over, felt like the game was slipping away. The big home run from Stott. Now, right before we came on the air, Josh, you asked me, it's got to be Stott's, other than the grand slam he hit in the playoff wild card game against the Florida Marlins. That has to be the biggest hit that Stott has had in a moment like that.
Absolutely. And I thought it was such an important moment because people like you and me, we've had questions about Stott, right? Not just because of the leadoff situation, but because this guy was a first-round pick. We're seeing the, shall we call it, the stagnation of Alec Boehm, right? So now we're looking at Stott and being like, is he part of this team's future? Is he going to take a step forward? Dave Dombrowski keeps talking about how, hey, we need the guys who are not Harper, Schwarber, Realmuto to step up. Well, I think Stott has shown you in the last few weeks that he is taking the bull by the horns. He is asserting himself. And last night was a huge moment for Stott to say, I am here. I am part of this team being a winning ball club.
Well, in order for this team to take that step, in order for this team to do what we're all hoping, we've been asking that somebody other than the four big guns, the Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, you want to throw Realmuto in there, the daycare guys, if you will. Boehm seemingly was the guy growing up, but he never quite went over the top. He grew up a little bit, and now he's regressed. It's like he's had a relapse almost. He's going back to, now I think Boehm is kind of settled in a little bit here. His batting average is up to 237.
He's been hitting better in the last 18 games for sure.
He certainly has given them something. I look at Stott and wonder if he's the guy that is having his growing up moment now. Marsh has obviously struggled. Boehm has struggled. Stott has been pretty steady all season long. He keeps having big hits. He keeps basically, proving that, hey, you want to put me at the leadoff spot? I know it's not ideal for everybody out there, but I'll contribute. Which takes me then to the next guy, Turner. I've been very tough on Turner. I don't know what to think of Turner. Is Turner having an impact? Is he not impactful? 2 for 5 last night, RBI, no runs scored in the game. So it's not like you're looking at it and saying, man, he was all over the place. He had 2 hits. He had 1 RBI. He's hitting 310. His on-base percentage is almost up to 380. It's 376 right now. But I need to see Turner. I want to like Turner. I want Turner to be awesome. I want to say, dude, now Turner's really. But again, last night I'm thinking, this guy's batting average 310, on base 376. It just feels so empty.
It does. And I think it's because, again, you have not just the contract, because the contract's the obvious thing.
Even if I took the contract out of it, and he was making $70 million over the length of the contract.
To me, it's about the fact that you go back in his history. The 2019 Nationals World Series team. You go back to his short time with the Dodgers. He has points in his career where he has been a very productive ball player.
Well, we all saw it at the World Baseball Classic. I mean, he at that point, you see him at the World Baseball Classic, and you're thinking, my God, you're adding this bat to the Phillies lineup. And by the way, he did have a big hit in the game last night. Basically, turns out to be the game-winning hit. I mean, he singles in the 10th to drive home Marsh, and that gives them the insurance run that they needed because Tampa ended up scoring a run in the bottom of the 10th. So his single last night in the 10th inning ends up being the game-winning hit. So to say he didn't have an impact last night is certainly not fair. And he takes a 97-mile-per-hour four-seamer and bang, blast, right back up the middle. So it was a good piece of hitting by him, and they needed it in the game last night.
But again, back to the original point of this, it's not about one game, though. It's about, you're talking about Trey Turner, over the course of his Phillies tenure, right, Mike, he has not been a guy who has given you that consistent production outside of the batting average and the on-base percentage.
Hasn't been there, but is it starting to get there? Right? Is it starting to get there for Turner, where he is now kind of settling in to the second spot? Now they're going to hit him in leadoff spot a couple of times, I guess, coming up here when they face a lefty, which isn't all that much.
Right. They got two lefties coming up next week. Liberatore for the Cardinals, and I think what's that one? Haney.
Yeah, Andrew Haney they face
for the
coming up.
Pirates.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. The Phils win last night. They'll play the Guardians, by the way. So take a look at everything that happened. I think this is really interesting. It's really early. Listen, everything's early. Let's not read a lot into it. But the Guardians are a team. They have World Series aspirations. They've won 7 out of 10, 2 straight. Phillies have won 8 out of 10, 3 straight. Look at the NL East. Phillies are a game and a half out of the Mets. And here come the Braves. We're going to talk to Tim Kurkjian about the Braves later tonight at 5:30 in this whole NL East race, because Kurkjian's on the call tomorrow. We'll have the game on 97.3 ESPN, Braves and Pirates. The Braves have kind of crept back into this, and they still don't have a full team, right? No. Ronald Acuna is looming. He'll be back probably in about a month here. They've got a couple other key guys that are kind of working their way back. But Phillies have cut that gap to 1.5 games on the Mets. And the Mets all of a sudden, you take a look at, they were out in Arizona. They're going to play the Cubs this weekend. So fun series with the Phillies and the Guardians and the Mets and the Cubs. So you have the NL East now really – this National League, big picture National League, man, there's a lot happening with the West and the East having 3 teams each. The West, you can make an argument that there's 4 teams, right?
Good, yeah.
That is going to make for a really high intensity summer of baseball. I mean, we're only in May. I don't know, of all the teams, okay? I was thinking about this last night. The Braves had a terrible start. They've kind of got back into this. I think the Mets are here for the long haul. Phillies are here for the long haul. I think the Braves are in it. I think they're in it. In the West, the Dodgers are in for the long haul. I think the Padres are in for the long haul. Arizona and the Giants, do we think they're in for the long haul, or do we think they're just kind of fly-by-night, April, May, good teams, and then they'll just dissipate?
I think one of them will stay in it, and I think one of them will fall off. I haven't decided which one yet, because the problem for the Giants is that they feel like that team is just they're missing something.
Well, the Giants are the surprise. Arizona's a team that went to the World Series, then last year disappointed. Now they're kind of back, similar to the Phillies, with a lot of the same guys that they counted on. I think Arizona, by the way, they're 5 back in the West right now. So, but I think all 4 of those teams will be at least in play till the first week of September. And then September starts to come around, and you don't know what's. But I think there's going to be those 4, the 3 in the East, the Central. They're not a big player in the wild card.
There's only 2 teams in the Central.
Sounded very excited there.
I know. I got a little too excited. There's really only 2 teams in the Central.
Hey, everybody. I got real excited about the Central. What are you, Tim Kurkjian over there?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers, Reds. They're all within 3.5 games of each other.
Yeah. To me, there's only 2 teams in the Central. To me, I look at the Cubs, I look at the Brewers, and that's pretty much it.
Matt and Kate May. Mike, it's always too early until it's too late. Phillies need to continue this run, and guys need to get hot and carry it through October. Listen, I agree for one thing here. The Phillies are going, and that's kind of the point. You send that text in as we're having this conversation, which is there's too many teams for you not to be able to take a little bit of the foot off the gas this year. There's no time where you can lose 8 out of 11. That can't happen.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why also you can't look right now at who can be acquired, because there's too many teams because of the expansion of the wild card who could be in contention.
I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City is joining us in just a couple of moments here. From here, we'll get his takeaways from the game last night, some weekend observations. There's a lot happened. I want to get his thoughts on some of the stuff that Daryl Morey had to say. We played a lot of that interview yesterday on the Sports Bash, which sparked an argument.
A lot of arguments.
Generated an argument. That's coming up here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video streaming on the Twitter X platform and on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Be a part of the show on the text board, 609 403 0973, 609 403 0973. Read off your text, react in that. Bob Wankel at 3. Coming up next, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. All right, 226. It just keeps getting better. The Phils, that is. They've won 3 in a row. They're hot. They get the sweep, but last night you get an interesting game. They'll come from behind, and they do it without the key guys. No Schwarber, no Harper. Castellanos, is he really a key guy? You put him in a key guy category? Maybe he needs to be a key guy. They need him to be a key guy. I'll get Mike McGarry's take on that and more. He's got a whole bunch up right now at pressofatlanticcity.com. He joins me on a Sports Bash Happy Hour Friday, a little 3:30 matinee for the Knicks tomorrow. That's a terrible time, by the way, for a level of basketball game. I hate when they play afternoon playoff basketball games. They got to stop with that. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City joins me now. What's going on, Michael?
There. I don't mind the Sunday afternoon games, but Saturday afternoon at 3:30 is a terrible time. That game's got to be 8 o'clock Saturday night, so you can get everything done that you got to get done, and you can clear the decks for that contest, because that is a must-win for both teams tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed at what's happening there. You've got Boston missing 45 threes. They followed up with missing 30 threes, shooting 25%. And I'm thinking, okay, if you're going to miss 45 threes, of course you're going to lose. The Knicks hit 46% of their threes and still needed overtime. So, okay, you got that one. Them winning game 2, the way that it happened, the Celtics shot horribly, but the Knicks didn't shoot all that great either and found a way to win that game. Now, if you're a Knicks fan, you feeling good about where you are, or are you still a little trepidatious?
I'm trepidatious with a capital T. I'm not talented enough to spell the rest of trepidatious, but I put all the remaining letters in that word in capital letters also. Because, Mike, look at this. Before the series began, I thought that Celtics were going to win in 6 games, but most people said Celtics will win in 4 or Celtics will win in 5. Well, so no one would have been surprised if the Celtics won 4 in a row or 4 or 5 from the Knicks. That's all they have to do right now, and I think that's why I say it's a must-win for both teams. Obviously, Celtics-wise, you don't want to go down 3-0, but if the Celtics win tomorrow night and all of a sudden it's 2-1, they've got momentum, they dominated the Knicks during the regular season, all those storylines will come back. They'll have the confidence again and the momentum. So I think the winner of tomorrow night's game really wins the series.
Yeah, well, obviously, if the Knicks win, I feel pretty strong that they would figure out a way to win one more. If the Celtics win, I want to get you've talked about this, I think, on the show before, but, man, the lack of home field advantage in sports anymore, it seems that it's just, gone away.
Well, you know what it is, Mike, and what I've noticed is it's not like the old days. I don't want to be the Simpsons guy shouting at the clouds here, but you're privileged enough to go to a lot of professional sporting events these days, different arenas, and the amount of artificial noise that is sort of pumped into these stadiums just makes it so loud. It's not like the old days when you walked into the old Boston Garden or even Madison Square Garden before it was renovated, or the Spectrum, and fans were on top of you, and it was quiet except for the actual crowd noise. Now there's so much artificial noise and stuff going on, and dancers and guys doing acrobats and mascots dunking and stuff. I really think that they kind of, in trying to enhance the in-game entertainment, they have neutralized the crowd, and everybody's just used to playing in these stadiums where the music is on 10, basically, and someone is screaming defense over the microphone.
Yeah, I know, the Knicks, though, you got to give us a little insight on if somebody hasn't been to the Garden for a game of this magnitude tomorrow, kind of paint us the picture.
Well, it's a special place. I mean, games just feel different in there, Mike. And it's just not games feel different. I've been to concerts there. They feel different. They, it's the setting around the streets. It's all the bars and restaurants around. It's the ability to take public transportation into the game, people riding the trains, the subways into the game. You see New Jersey Transit. You go to New Jersey Transit tomorrow. People taking the New Jersey Transit into Penn Station with all the Knicks gear on and stuff like that. There just seems to be, I don't know whether it's the acoustics or the way it was designed or just the setting. There's a special buzz about that place. There's a special, sound that the crowd makes. It doesn't mean the Knicks are unbeatable there. History has shown that they can lose many a big playoff game in there, including this year when they dropped 2 games to the Pistons there. But sporting events just feel different there. Concerts feel different there. Everything just feels kind of different at Madison Square Garden. It is the world's most famous arena, and it does sort of carry that when you walk in there, basically.
I was there once. It was years ago. I went to a Knicks game. It just, I happened to be up there. I was covering I was at Radio Row for the Super Bowl, so I went over there. And yeah, it is a pretty cool environment there. I'm interested to see what it gets like for a game of this magnitude tomorrow, where they're up 2-0. I mean, the Sixers went there. I think the Sixers won a game there last year, right? Was that the game where Maxey went bonkers?
Won too. They won the Maxey game there, right? In Game 5, I believe, and then the Knicks came back and I think took Game 6 from the 76ers. So, yeah, like I said, as we just talked about, the Knicks are far from being unbeatable there. But there's just something different about watching the game. There's excitement. There's the celebrities that they put up on the screen, everybody from Chris Rock to Spike Lee to Ben Stiller. It's just a different sort of atmosphere, and it's really the blocks around there. It's just a cool place to watch a basketball game. It's a cool place to go see anything. Like I said, I've been to concerts there. It's just a different feel when you walk in there. I can't really explain it. It's just different.
No, you're right. I mean, I've been there once, and like I said, man, this is pretty cool. It's definitely, you go to a game at Wells Fargo, it's nice, blah, 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 but there's a different feeling in that building, no question about it. That's tomorrow, 3:30. Mike, I don't know if you got a chance to hear. Maury did a radio interview yesterday. He also was on the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. Have you seen any of the quotes making the rounds?
I have,
okay.
Yes.
Number one, before I ask you some of my observations, do you have an initial observation about either one of his interviews?
Well, I think he's just got to play the cards that he's dealt with, and he really has no choice. I don't see how, you can't, after the season that that the Sixers just had, you're not going to get rid of Embiid or Paul George or Maxey. Obviously, Maxey's on the younger side, but there's no place for Embiid or George to go. So to say you're going to stick with the big three and believe in the big three, if I was him, I'd say that too, because that's really your only choice. And the other thing that I think he did point out, which was a self-critique, which I would agree with, is the NBA has gotten younger. I think all sports are getting younger, and an emphasis on athleticism. And I think the Sixers just had too many old guys around that big three, and they've got to figure out a way to get younger and more athletic. So I would agree with those 2 points that he made.
The one thing he mentioned, about why were you? He got asked about Embiid. Why did you sign him? I mean, obviously he's talked about this before. Why did they sign Embiid to that extension? It almost sounds like he felt like, listen, Joel Embiid is an MVP level player in this league. We have him on our team. If you don't have that level of player, you're not even in the conversation. And while we have him, we're going to take as many swings with him as we can. Now, the retort to that would be he's never healthy. And it feels like he's like saying, we have him, whether he's healthy this year, we have to hope he's healthy next year. But having him is better than not having him.
Yeah, I mean, 2 things there, I think. First of all, he is your guy. For lack of a better choice, he's your guy, and you get the greatness of Embiid that comes along with it, and you get the injury history that comes along with it too. So it's almost like the Sixers almost had no choice but to give him that extension. Because, Mike, let's say if he doesn't do that and he goes the opposite way, then you're the Dallas Mavericks, and everybody's yelling at you like, how could you not give Luka Doncic the extension? How are you trading him? You didn't get back equal value. That's the other dilemma with this guy. If you were to trade Embiid, the history of these trades, think back to the Charles Barkley trade, that the Sixers made back in the 90s. You do not get equal value in a trade for these guys. So it's almost like you're stuck with Embiid. This is the person that you have kind of hitched your wagon to, and you've got to do everything you can to make it work out with him. But it's almost like you have no choice, because to get rid of him and turn the page, you're either going to go back to winning 10 games in a year and start completely over, and I don't think anybody wants to do that, or you're going to try to trade him, and you're just not going to be able to get fair value back, and everybody's going to be then ripping you for trading a former MVP. So he's almost in a no-win situation there, but I understand why they paid Embiid and why they're going to try to write it out and just hope and pray that somehow over a 2-month stretch in the spring, he can somehow stay healthy for 2 months.
Mike, he mentioned at one point, I believe he did a radio interview where he said, listen, this is the first losing season I've ever had. I've generally won. Is he tone deaf with that comment, or is that because some people think he deserved to be fired because this season was so bad? I'm not one of those people. I have said, listen, this guy has been a very good GM in this league. No, he has not won a championship. He's won 60% of his games. In order to win a title, you need to be a playoff team and get to the playoffs. But him saying this is the first losing season, is that a tone deaf comment, or do you say, no, his resume suggests that he deserves the shot to fix this mess?
Yeah, a couple things there. Number one is I think it was a little bit too defensive. That kind of struck me. Also, I think, if he had you're talking on the radio, you're talking on a podcast, that's a lot of talking. Not everything is going to come out of your mouth the right way. Sometimes you might wish that you could rephrase stuff. So I think, if he had it to do over again, he would probably rephrase that. I thought it was a bit too defensive, but he has been successful. He has made some good personnel moves here. I mean, he drafted Maxey. Now, I think Philadelphia kind of overrates Maxey, but he's still an excellent player. They took him late in the first round. The guy they got from Duke last year, late in the first round, looked good. He has managed to make deals. When he first arrived here, everybody thought there's no way he's going to get rid of this Al Horford contract. He was able to get rid of that. He brought James Harden in, and then he shipped James Harden out. I don't think after one season, Mike, and I feel this way about all sports. I think a lot of sports teams and a lot of fans are like, this guy's got to go, that guy's got to go. I don't think continuity is a bad thing. Now, if the Sixers have another disaster of a season this year, then I think you can step back and look at Daryl Morey's record and say, okay, do we maybe want to go in a different direction here or see what the situation is? But I definitely think his track record as being an NBA general manager and his overall talent evaluation is pretty good. And what is somebody else? If you brought in somebody else, what's he going to wave a wand and make him be magically healthy? I mean, that's the
well. I guess
factor.
one of the criticisms. Listen, I agree with mostly everything you just said. I mean, I think his track record suggests some of the moves that he's made. They are like under the radar moves. It's the high profile decisions. Embiid, Paul George. Many people are saying, look, you knew Paul George was kind of broken down. The Clippers didn't want him. You gave him 4 years. People are really holding that to him and saying that's a fireable offense. The Embiid decision, is that fair?
Yeah, I don't think it's fair because, Paul George, played in 70-something games the year before he came to Philadelphia. Now, should you be able to look in your crystal ball and say, what are the chances of Paul George playing in 70-plus games 2 years in a row? But on the flip side of that, you have Embiid. The clock is ticking on Embiid. Paul George was the premier sort of free agent available. You got to try to maximize the Embiid window while you can. So you bring in an aging Paul George to try to put the team over the top. I just think if they're going to go for it, it was a good decision. It just did not work out right. It was a terrible season. Everybody got hurt. I'd try to run it back. I'd do what he's doing. I'd run it back with the big three, try to augment them with younger players and take another shot at it and then see where you are at the end of next season. The only caveat I would throw out there, Mike, is I think when you look at the Eastern Conference now and you look at what's happened in the playoffs, all of a sudden Boston's down 0-2. We thought Cleveland was great. They're down 0-2. Milwaukee's home. Dame Lillard's out probably all of next season. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. So you got got to keep those talented players because, again, maybe next year is the year Embiid stays healthy in April, May, and June, and you're in an NBA final or an Eastern Conference final.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you're really just – and I agree with, actually I would take it a step further, Mike. I think you Embiid, George, you're kind of tied to them. They don't have the value, so you almost have to bring them back. And you said, listen, we signed these two to play together. That never even happened. Let's take a swing of that. And if this thing falls apart next year like it did this year, then I think you just got to cut ties and say, hey, listen, it didn't work out, yada, yada. But you have to take another swing with Embiid and George and at least see if that duo with Maxey, with McCain, now you've added Grimes, you hopefully get this pick. I mean, and I believe, and I want to see what you think about this, I think this offseason is going to bring some craziness because he seems pretty steadfast on this one, that he made a mistake with the way he built that roster, and he seemed pretty hell-bent on fixing that mistake.
Yeah, and look, I think the way he fixes the mistake might make the team more entertainment if they get younger. Maybe they can go out, run a little bit more, play a little bit more pressure defense. I think it might make for a more entertaining product. But as long as Joel Embiid is still breathing and he's still on your roster, I mean, figuratively, you have a shot. Now, is Embiid ever going to be healthy again, 100%? I don't know. Can he get back to the guy who last season scored 70 points in a game? If you get that guy back, you're going to have a pretty good team. You've got a shot. It all comes down to Embiid's health, Mike. And at that point, if he's not healthy, Red Auerbach could be running the Philadelphia 76ers, and it ain't going to matter.
Well, and that's the thing. I talk about all the time in basketball. I mean, there are if you told me Bob Myers, I know he's with Josh Harris with the Commanders, and he said, Josh, I want to go run the Sixers. Okay, I have no problem firing Morey on the spot. Bob Myers, I would take. But, I don't know what GM. I mean, somebody said Brad Stevens. Sam Presti. Presti's a very analytical, almost Morey disciple type of guy there. So you got guys who would do a lot of the same things that Morey does already if you're looking. I don't know where you think there's this GM coming in that's going to consistently win 60% of his games. I just don't know why. I just feel like Morey is just such an unconnectable type of guy.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there. I don't think he does a good job at all of being I don't think he's available enough to the media. I think he should be available more during the season. I think he should talk, at least once a month. And I understand that, if he goes on the Fanatic station from Philadelphia because they hold the Sixers' rights, just don't go on there once or twice a season. If I was him, I'd go on every month. I do feel that there is a vacuum with that team between the management and getting information to the fans. So I think Morey should be more outgoing, more in the public eye, more, I don't expect to give him a press conference every day, but I don't think it's once a month. He could meet with the beat writers or go on a different radio show or a different podcast. I would enhance them. I think right now he's got kind of this image of the guy behind the curtain, kind of the Wizard of Oz, and nobody really knows a lot about him or what he thinks or what his philosophy is. So, yeah, I agree with you 110%. If I was him, I would talk more to the fans and try to explain, hey, this is why we did this is why we did that. I would talk more to the beat writers. I would definitely get my opinion and my take out there more than Daryl Morey does. I think that would help them 100%. And you're right about the other GMs. I mean, hey, go ask the people in Boston right now what they think of Brad Stevens, especially if the Knicks go up 3-0 tomorrow night. They might be driving Brad Stevens down 95 to Philadelphia if they lose tomorrow.
Hey, listen, the guy who built the Nuggets got fired.
Right, exactly.
By the way, Nico was in the finals last year in Dallas. They loved him, and here we are 8 months later, and they want to kill the guy. I mean, it's amazing. Like if I said the Sixers fired Daryl Morey and hired Nico from Dallas, are you all that thrilled? Like people, I know people. I get it. People think that Morey made major mistakes last offseason, and I think he's in some way tied to. I don't know what I don't. I have a really. This one's an interesting thing to me, though. Why people dislike this guy so much? That one I can't understand all that much. Like people are like, you make excuses for this guy. I said, I'm sorry, the guy wins a lot of games. I like guys that win. Has he won a championship? No. But I don't know that there's a guy out there that's going to be an upgrade over what you have. I'll take my swings at a guy who's won 60% of his games. Look, you're not winning a title every year. That one of these years, it's your year.
Right. And the one thing about Daryl Morey that I sometimes think fans forget, when he was the general manager of the Houston Rockets, they were knocking heads with a pretty good team in Golden State, probably one of the best teams in NBA history. So if the Golden State Warriors don't exist, if Kevin Durant doesn't decide to go to the Golden State Warriors, then Daryl Morey's Houston Rockets probably get home and at least get to an NBA final, if not win an NBA title.
Yep.
I understand why Morey kind of rubs people the wrong way. I think it goes back to, in my impression of him, is that he's just a little standoffish, a little aloof. I think he'd do himself better. Again, converse with the beat writers once a month, go on different radio shows, go on different talk shows, make yourself more accessible. I think especially in a market like Philadelphia, that would do wonders for him.
All right, Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, right here on a happy hour Friday. His Knicks go tomorrow, Mets and Cubs, Phillies and Guardians, good baseball weekend. A lot happening, Mike. Appreciate it as always, man.
All right, we'll talk about it on Monday. See you down the road. Thanks.
Absolutely. Mike is back on Monday's show. We are the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Good stuff from Mike McGarry as always here, bringing the heat on a Friday. Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad, going to join us, talk a little Phils in the 3 o'clock hour. Tim Kurkjian tonight at 5:30. We got so much more to do today. I want to do some Eagles, of course, with DiCecco later, get all his thoughts. Does he think Justin Simmons is a right fit as a veteran to add on this team? We'll talk to him coming up at 4 o'clock for football at 4 today. You out there on a happy hour Friday. 2:53 Sports Bash Live. Happy Hour Friday. What do you have it on a Happy Hour Friday? Now, I need some good recommendations for the weekend here. It's supposed to be like 73 and sunny tomorrow. I need some good recommendations. You got Sunday Night Baseball, by the way. You can listen to the Phillies and Guardians. Man, I forgot their name for a second. Phillies and Guardians, Sunday Night Baseball is on 97.3 ESPN. I need some good recommendations this weekend. Give me some good ones. 609-403-0973. I've been giving out some good recommendations. I had a guy text me or message me on, X the other day saying that he took one of my recommendations from last week and really enjoyed it.
Hey, man, listen, there's nothing better than having a good craft beer from a South Jersey brewery while you watch a Phillies game on Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday Night Baseball. You can listen to the game on 97.3. Who's it, Ruben Amaro on that game?
Yeah, I think it's I thought I think it's Boog Shiambi and Ruben Amaro Jr.
We're going to be talking to Tim Kurkjian tonight at 5:30 here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Live video streaming on the X platform, YouTube, at Mike Gill Show. When we come back, I got a lot for Bob Wankel. The Mike and Bob Friday chats continue. Is the Phillies bullpen fixed? What does he see as Taijuan Walker's role? Andrew Painter pitched last night. His thoughts on when we could see Painter in the majors. Marsh, Rojas, or Crawford? How's that all going to play out? We're going to dive into all those topics and more when Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad joins me, covers the Phillies. Coming up next on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video on the X platform, Twitter X, and on YouTube. Just search at Mike Gill Show. Hour 2 next. All right, Sports All right, Sports Bash Live. 3. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. This hour of the show is brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, installation for generations. 609-390-3907, online, broadleaf.net. Well, heating up are the Phillies, their offense, extra innings, fun win last night. A lot of things to dive into on a Happy Hour Friday. Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad is back for a Happy Hour Friday Phillies conversation as the Phillies take on Cleveland this weekend. Sunday Night Baseball is on 97.3 ESPN. Our coverage starts at 6. Bob Wankel is back as a lot of Phil stuff happening this week and the big weekend series against a fun Cleveland team. What's going on, man?
Good to talk to you, Mike. I don't know how we're going to do this today. There's really nothing to complain about. That's usually when I'm at my best. So I got to work harder here today.
There is plenty to complain about. Even when you sweep, there's complaints. You know, you're down last night. You fight back into the game. That was a fun game last night. But I saw your tweet. We read off the tweet on Thursday's show about the Phillies bullpen. You had a lot of stats in there that I don't know what they mean, but X-FIP and this FIP and that blip.
The X is expected, like based on the deeper numbers, what you would expect the outcome to be, not what the actual outcome is.
Okay, well, with that, is the Phillies bullpen fixed? Is it trending in the right direction based on your advanced metrics that you put out there on the X platform?
Not at all. It's not a dumpster fire. It's not a raging dumpster fire the way it was the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. It's just not good now, but it's better. The bullpen is I think a work in progress, and you can have a lot of different problems. And again, it's easy to say this after they just sweep a series. You can have a lot of different problems, and some of them are almost impossible to fix. I think a leaky bullpen is one that you can sort of piece together in time, and I think that the Phillies have enough interesting arms, a surplus of starters, maybe some trade chips, where as the season does progress, you can fix it to a point where you can win with it. The starting pitching is going to have to lead the way. It has so far. A lot of different metrics say it's the best rotation in baseball. I think I believe that. Is this bullpen ever going to be top 5 or top 10 this year? I doubt it, but I think you can at least get it to be functional.
All right, what do we make of Walker and his role in the bullpen? Everybody 3 innings, 7 strikeouts. I mean, do I take anything from that? And I don't even know what role that is. What is a man who throws 3 innings in a game's role as a bullpen arm? To me, that's a guy who I can't use 2 days in a row now.
I don't think that Taijuan Walker's typically going to be a back-to-back day guy. How many times are you going to have a 6-7 run lead where you're asking someone to take down the final 3 innings of the game? Probably not often. So what does that look like? Is Taijuan Walker a long man? Like maybe? Or is he a guy that can kind of get you through the 5th and 6th or the 6th and 7th in a 1 or 2 run game, where you go back to April and you look at Strahm and Alvarado and Kurkjian, and we were saying to ourselves, like, these guys are in the game every single night. They're going to kill these guys by the middle of the season. If Taijuan Walker can give you some quality innings here, does it cut down on the stress and the workload for those core key relievers, keep them a little bit fresher? It's a work in progress. It was a great story. It was a great outing for Walker. I'm intrigued by it, but I don't think that we can sit here and say, oh, yes, viable high leverage late inning guy coming at you. I think that would be getting way, way out in front of it.
Dare I say that Walker's a likable guy? Like, is that why people are kind of like softening on him? I mean, last year, this guy stinks. I don't ever want to see him again. And now it's almost like it's turned around where, hey, this guy's not bad. Like, give him a shot. He can help this team out. You feel that?
A little bit. Look, Garrett Stubbs, after Andrew Painter's debut in Lehigh last night, talked a little bit about this with reporters up there. And he said, I'm so amped up for Taijuan Walker and what he was able to do the other night. And from everything that I had heard, whether it had been down there or just talking to some other people, Taijuan Walker's always been a likable guy. He's always been a good teammate. They've always rooted for him. They want to see him do well. They felt like that he did work hard. So this wasn't like a guy who was underperforming, detached himself from the rest of the clubhouse, was a jerk. Like, I think that we've always had a good guy here. And there's something from a fan standpoint, like we don't see what happens behind closed doors, but when you have a player struggle to that extent where you're like, this guy is not even a usable player, and then he bounces back and he just keeps working and doing it, you have to respect that. And, people in this market especially love that stuff, and they feed off of that. And so I think it's kind of easy to say, yeah, man, like, look at him. Good for that guy right now.
Right. Taijuan Walker, I mean, again, listen, I thought he threw well. I'll tell you what I liked, okay? It seemed as if he embraced the role. Okay, if this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it the best I can. Embraced it. I like the way he finished. When you see that little kick at the end, I mean, that's like, hey, listen, I'm going to empty the tank because I only got 2 innings. I don't have to worry about trying to get you 6, 7 innings. I'm just going to let it loose here. He seemed like he had a little flair for the dramatics at the end of some of those, finishing off. But seriously, the fastball, he's throwing that thing, the kick's going up in the air, and that's him just like, I'm just letting loose here.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that probably does not want to be in this role. I'm sure that he strongly prefers to be a starter and to try to build off of what he did at the start of this year. But again, he is a very good teammate, by all accounts, a selfless guy, and he's going to do the best he can in whatever role he's given. And by the way, I will say this. I mean, guy's making $18 million this year. He basically stole $18 million last year, and he's got another 18 coming to him in 26. I guess for maybe that kind of money, I'd probably be a good teammate too.
Listen. We were trying to figure this out yesterday. I don't know if Walker's tradable because of the contract. Our team's so desperate for starting pitching, and the Phillies have such a surplus. Does that mean, hey, they would just take a single-A arm, something to get rid of him? I don't see. This is an interesting one because normally, Bob, when you make a trade at the deadline, you're looking at a bad team to give you a player that isn't helping them because they stink but might help you. But Walker isn't going to get sent to a bad team. You might actually be trading partners for a contending team with him.
Yeah, so is he a trade chip this season? It's hard to say. By the time you get to the deadline, he'll be owed roughly $25 to $26 million still through the duration of his deal. So could there be a team that would be interested in him? I think so, but the question for me becomes, how much of that salary would you have to eat? And, what would the Phillies be looking for in terms of relief on the back end of that? So right. I think it might be more possible that if
or even looking for in return for him.
Right. And then the other part of it is, do you get to the end of the season, you get into the offseason and say, all right, look, this guy's stabilized. He's a dependable guy. You can use him a variety of different ways. He has 1 year remaining. Maybe you split half the salary, get something back this offseason. I feel like he's a little trickier to deal in season than he would be this winter.
Did you see any of Painter last night?
Yeah, I mean, I saw what a lot of people saw online. I talked to 3 different people that saw it live and impressed. It's certainly a top prospect arm. There's some things he has to iron out still. When things start to spiral on you a little bit. Do you let it compound, or are you able to kind of just lock right back in? I think we saw in his 3rd inning last night, it started to get away from him a little bit. He got out of it without giving up any runs, which is a great sign, but he lost command entirely for a 3-batter run there. And those are the things that he's going to have to iron out, but he's the real deal. A lot of times you wish and pray on Phillies prospects, and we could go down the list of names, and it'd probably give you the shakes if we read them out. But this is a guy, that, I mean, it sure looks to be the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the makeup, the size. I mean, the stuff is nasty. I watched a lot of that last night, by the way. Josh, thank you. They were sending that one. That one was a free. You could watch that one for free last night, but Josh sent me his MLB. Don't tell anybody. He sent me his password. And I was watching it late. I went out to dinner last night. I was watching it at the table. 3 quick innings. Painter, I saw the inning. He got a little 3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 3 walks. They were all in the same inning. 5 strikeouts, a lot of swing and miss, 34 strikes and 60 pitches last night. Did look a little lack of command at times for Painter. But I think you mentioned last week you think they're going to bring him up sooner than the timeline suggested.
I do. I think you're looking at mid-June. If everything progresses, if he goes out and he shows all the signs, I just don't think that they're going to waste time. You know, he has a finite amount of innings that he will throw this season. Why burn them at the minor league level? You don't necessarily want to rush him up here next week, but why have him go through 10 starts down there?
Can you imagine?
If you see what you need to see after 6 appearances, get him up here.
Can you imagine if he's the real deal and they shut him down in the playoffs?
I don't think that'll happen. What I do think is possible, though, you and I may have talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, what does a playoff rotation look like? I've said all along, like, I don't think that Andrew Painter is a relief option in season. Like, this guy's a starting pitcher. That's what they got him here to do. I don't think that they're going to tinker with his role. But if you get into October and he's fulfilling his promise and you get in the postseason, do they protect him a little bit but still keep him as an option out of the bullpen? Yeah. I think that's possible. I highly doubt that they would do a full shutdown in October of him.
Bob Wankel crossing broad. Phillies getting ready for the Guardians. Let's go. Marsh is back, double last night in the 10th. Looks pretty good. He's been hitting the ball, crushed one right on the nose, hit into a double play with Bohm on first base. Rojas, my man, giving you stuff. Suicide squeeze the other night from Rojas. A little first to third last night, showing the speed. Is a Rojas Marsh platoon shaping up here? Is Justin Crawford looming?
I think it's all in play right now. I mean, Johan Rojas does this thing where, and you know how I feel about him, and I've been very critical. The numbers are the numbers. He's swinging the bat well. He has far exceeded my
expectations. What are the X numbers? What are the X numbers on him?
They're actually not as good as the 299 batting average. It's part of the reason I don't think he's that good. All that being said, it's like pure chaos with Johan Rojas in the game. You see last night, he almost gets picked off at first base. The lead is just a little too aggressive, and it was like one of those ones where you hear the announcers on TV and you hear the groan sort of. But because he extends it and he almost gets picked off, then you get the wild throw. Now he's on third base. Like, it's just, you never know what you're going to get with that guy. And sometimes it's going to make you want to rip your hair out. And sometimes you're about to rip your hair out and you go, actually, great job. And that was sort of what we saw with him last night. But he's making some things happen, and he's certainly earned the right to continue to prove or try to prove that he should play with some consistency. Brandon Marsh, obviously, we know that April was a disaster. Since he's been back, he has a pair of doubles. He's 5 for 11. He looks more like the hitter that we expected to see against right-handed pitching. Justin Crawford, that's where things kind of get interesting. Like,
real quick, let me interject on this thing because the Phillies play 8 out of 9 right-handed pitchers. You can't have Rojas sit the bench every night against righties. That's where I think Rojas falls into these lapses, is when he doesn't play every single day. He's got to go out there and make mistakes and learn from them. He can't sit on the bench 3 days, wait for a left-handed pitcher, and then now you're in the lineup. That's where I think
I actually think you're going to see them split, even though it's 8-9. Maybe you'll get Marsh for 5, Rojas for 3 in those 8 games. He's going to continue to get opportunities, and he deserves them. I'll say that. Fast forward a month from now, do I think that we're all going to be, continuing the love affair here? I don't. I just don't. But in fairness, I think he's certainly earned the right to continue to get some at-bats with regularity. Here's what I'll say about these 3 guys. I do not think come August that all 3 of these players will be employed by the Phillies. You have to make it. If you need to make a trade, like let's say they need another bat. Let's say they need another bullpen piece or 2. You have to send players outbound to do it. And if you believe in Crawford as the next guy, then you don't need both Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh. If you think that Rojas and Marsh are enough to get you through this year, but you want another meaningful piece somewhere else, then maybe Crawford's that chip. I just don't think that all 3 of these guys are going to exist here together.
That's an interesting another layer to this. Bob Wankel crossing broad. Is Crawford the guy that is the biggest piece that they can dangle based on he's left-handed. Now, he is hitting like 375 against lefties at AAA. Do you put a lot of stock into that, or does that not push your pile at all?
I think that's a very encouraging sign. I mean, he's hitting 318 and roughly 130 at-bats this season, and his on-base percentage is 386. And he can run, and he's a good defender. Like, this is a real prospect. The only issue really is it's like if you want the one knock on the game, it's that he hits a ton of balls on the ground. He's not going to be a guy that hits 20 home runs at the major league level. Again, he hasn't hit one yet this year. So there are limitations in his game, but can he be a very solid top of the order, run around plus defender, center fielder? Yeah, I think so. I think that's very possible.
All right. Is Trey Turner having an impact? The guy's hitting 310, 370 plus on base. I don't know what to make of those numbers because I'm a batting average on base guy. I like those numbers. I think they tell a little bit of a story, but it feels like Turner has a lot. It just feels like the impact of those numbers, I'm not feeling them. Am I wrong? Are these X numbers that I'm missing?
I agree with you to a point. I felt like that this week against the Rays, and maybe extending back to that Diamondback series, it's starting to feel like he's more in the middle of things. Like he's stealing some bases. He's scoring runs. You're seeing him use his athleticism when he's out there a little bit. The numbers are pretty good. You look at all qualified shortstops, 7th in OPS, 5th in on-base percentage, 3rd in batting average, actually tops in the National League right now among all NL shortstops. In batting average, I mean, he is making an impact. At some point, the numbers are such that even if you overlook the home runs, you say, like, the guy's doing a nice job. There's, I think, a little bit more to his game, though. And if he can add to the power component, then you're really going to feel it. But I do feel like that lately that he has a little bit more energy. There's a little bit more juice around his contributions to this team.
Yeah, it almost feels like if you're not hitting for power that the impact isn't being felt as much. But, you know, I thought last night he hits the ball hard. He ends up getting on base. He goes from first all the way to home. I don't know. He said it's funny. So my girlfriend watches games with me. You know, she's in. She pays attention. He's doing an interview after the game the other night with no hat on. She said, I had no idea that this guy had this hair. Like, and the funny part is, like, that might sound like trivial or whatever, but I'm like, he's just so nondescript. Like, for this guy, there's nothing about him that you're like, I really like that. He comes from first all the way around and scores from home. Slides head first. No pump of the fist. No nothing. I know I sound like one of these guys that has to have that, but, like, there's nothing that stands out about him, and that's why I'm wondering if we're missing his impact.
Yeah, maybe the lack of personality.
No personality.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that – I don't know that that's a criticism. I think it's just
it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter, and it doesn't matter to like I don't care. You can be as smell as you want to be, but I'm saying, is that why we're missing maybe the impact that he's having?
Yeah, if you saw him and you're like, wow, he's having a lot of fun out there. You see him engaging with the teammates, and he's has like the Brandon Marsh daycare thing that everyone talked about for 3 years. Like, if he was one of those guys that was always on camera making you laugh or saying like that's a cool dude. I want to get a beer with that dude. The thing is, you don't say that about Trey Turner because you have no idea. Like, you might want to get a beer with him. You're not saying he's a bad guy. You just have no clue. And he's been here for 3 years now, and you feel like you don't know the guy at all. And that's certainly the case.
I feel like he's the guy that makes sophomoric jokes on a team that sophomoric jokes fall flat.
Maybe. I think that is very much his personality, though. He does not give very much to the media. Everything is just very, very bland, very understated. He is not a look at me guy. But look, I mean, the last 7 games, he's 13 of his last 32. He's hitting 406 with let's see, count it up here, Bob, real quick. 987 OPS. Pretty good week for Trey Turner.
I felt like Brandon Marsh last night was waiting for the daycare to dump seeds on his head. Did you have that feeling? He was looking around like, who's dumping this stuff on me?
I think people need to relax a little bit. This whole, like, the daycare needs to grow up, and these guys, they gotta stop being 22 years old and act their age. Like, they're playing good baseball, they're winning games, and those guys are making contributions. I don't care if they dump seeds, spit on each other. I don't care what they do. Let them do whatever they want as long as they're out there with good energy and playing good baseball.
Bob Wankel, Crossing Broad, is with me here. A couple more other quickies real quick. The Schwarber looming contract, off-season, in-season, how's that all going to play out as he continues to kind of carry this team a little bit? How are you kind of reading what's going to happen with Kyle Schwarber in this contract?
Oh, what I can tell you is that he's going to get paid. And what really kind of is interesting is it feels like an absolute slam dunk that you bring this guy back. How do you do it? He's going to just be a DH. He'll be 33 at the start of the contract. So if it's a 4-year deal, you're going 33 through 36. Does he decline? Does it matter? As long as he can hit, even if the athleticism further declines and he has that power component to his game still, does it actually have an impact? I guess the question I have is, if you just signed a 4-year, $80 million deal, are you looking for the exact same thing 4 years later? Is he worth that? It's a very hard contract to nail down in terms of what is the exact value. And if I were the Phillies, I think I'd probably give him a little bit more per year and probably try to do a 3-year deal. Mm-hmm. I think that's how I would play it. I don't know that I want to go into the back half of Kyle Schwarber's 30s, but it does feel like at the end of the day, it's one of those things that they have to get done. They got to find a way. Yeah. He's so important to what they do from a power perspective. I can make the argument that he's their one true power source that you can depend on game in, game out. And I think that, as we've talked about on this show quite a bit, there's a certain set of intangibles that he brings from a leadership perspective that I think are very important to this team.
I think last week I threw at you one stays, one goes with Real Muto and him. And that doesn't mean that you couldn't bring both back. But, man, they're going to have a tough sledding with this Real Muto thing because there is no catcher in the system. He hasn't been great offensively. You got to try to figure this out. You got to try to make Schwarber happy. Can you bring them both back? I think that's going to be looming as well as a big topic for them.
Some of it will be, and no fan ever wants to hear this because it's like, hey, just sign them, just spend the money, figure it out. But there's going to be, with both players, a degree of, do I want to be here? And what concession, are the Phillies going to be the team on either player that gives them the best deal? I doubt it.
Is there ever a player who doesn't want to be here in Philly? Come on. What's the last guy? Scott Rowland.
Kyle Schwarber, Midwest guy, went to Indiana. I believe he grew up as a Reds fan in Ohio. The Reds are kind of a team that's on the up and up here. Could he go home to Cincinnati and be a final piece of that team? I think these guys all really appreciate Citizens Bank Park, the experience. They like one another. It's a tight team. But when the checkbooks open up, you start to think about a lot of other things.
All right. Well, a lot of other things are happening. By the way, was it you last night? I think you tweeted that Trey Turner's starting to have a Victorino feel to him. Was that you?
That was me, and that's what I'm saying. It's been a very small sample. I'm not saying it oh man, that's what he's been this season. But this week, I just felt like it was a little bit different. I just was watching a player that I noticed. It wasn't just there's Turner flipping a 64-mile-an-hour exit velo single to right, and there's an error. It feels like there's a little bit more energy in his game right now. And when things are happening, he seems to be the guy on the screen.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. What you think, by the way, what you think of, we didn't get a lot into the manager and stuff, but the bullpen, some people wondering how you bring Hernandez in. Hernandez shut them all up.
Great job by Hernandez. I thought he was the key to the entire game last night. Comes in with 2 guys on and 1 out and gets a pair of strikeouts. The Tanner Banks decision in the 7th to me was like a concession. It was we're not going to win this game tonight. When you go Banks, Diaz, it should have never got to that point. Put the reliever in a terrible spot. They got burned, and they were still good enough to overcome it last night. But I don't know what Rob was doing on that one. With Romano ready to go, and who came into the game anyway. So what are we doing?
I like this. Now we want to see Romano.
No, but I'd rather see him again. I'd rather see him against Diaz than Banks.
I got you there.
What are we doing?
I got you. No,
you had to get me on the negative thing at least for two seconds before I got out of here.
I waited to the end. All right, Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad. Of course, you can check him out here on the Sports Bash Live. We got plenty of other Phil stuff that we could have hit on, but hey, the positivity with the Phils. They've won 3 in a row, and they're taking on the Guardians. You can listen to Sunday Night Baseball right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, man. Good to see you.
All right, talk soon.
up in about 35 minutes. More Sports Bash on the way. All right, 329 Sports Bash this hour brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning. I'm Mike Gill. We got a lot of happy hour Fridays today. I want to get some of those out there as well. 609-403-0973 is the text board. A couple text messages on the conversation with Bob Wankel. We've got Tim Kurkjian coming up in 2 hours from now. So if you're in the car hanging around, if not, check us out on the YouTube channel or on the X platform. Somebody chimed in. I think Kyle is kind of a Matt Stairs, but more. Make him a palatable contract. He's got fielding skills. He's not the greatest. His bat is his strength. Stairs was only a bat. Sometimes you need just a bat. Kyle Schwarber is a way. I get what you're saying. He's a big lefty. Stairs was not as nearly as impactful as Schwarber, but I guess I think I maybe can see where you're going.
I think it's a horrible analogy.
Wow. Tell us how you really feel. You having a little Happy Hour Friday vibes to you.
I wish I had some Happy Hour Friday vibe right now, but listen.
Matt Stairs was never a fraction of the player.
I think Matt Stairs had maybe like 1 or 2 good years.
He had a couple. Actually, I'm looking back at this now. Early in his career, he got a late start.
Right?
In the A's years, he hit 258 with 38 homers and 102 RBI, 366 on base percent. I mean, that's a Schwarber type of year right there, actually.
Yeah, but
he hit 294 with 26 homers and 106 RBI one year with a 370 on base. It's not a bad. That's a pretty darn good year.
Yeah, but the difference is that Schwarber has been doing what he's been doing for a longer period of time.
To be fair to that guy, though, I was not aware that he had a stretch of seasons like that. I think Schwarber has been more consistently this player, but that's actually some of these years, towards the end of Stairs' career, he really became just a bat off the bench. But early in his career out in Oakland, he was pretty Schwarber-ish.
Schwarber-ish, sure. But to me, Schwarber is closer to like a Jason Giambi comp than he is a Matt Stairs comp. Because the one thing Schwarber does that Stairs didn't always do very well is that Schwarber does get on base. Stairs was never like a high-end.
I disagree with that. 356 career on base. I mean, 356 is...
Matt Stairs is a 356 on base for his career.
356 career on base percentage.
See, that's insane to me because I never thought of him as an on base guy.
I just told you those years in Oakland, he had a 386 on base, a 370 on base, a 366 on base. I mean, this guy was getting on base at a high level. He had some years there where he was very Schwarber-ish. Well, you can make an argument.
Maybe it's a more fair comp.
It's
than I
a fair
more. For.
It's more fair than I initially thought, but now that I took a look at it, I'm thinking, you know what? Early in his career, now later in his career, he was more of just a bat off the bench. But that stretch in Oakland, he had 27 homers.
What age was he at that point?
30, 29, 30, 31, 32, right where Schwarber is right now. At 32 years old.
Research on Matt Stairs now.
Bad job by you. At 32 years old, isn't that how old Schwarber is right now?
Yes.
At 32 years old, he hit 227 with 21 homers, 81 RBI, 333 on base. Not a great year. The 3 previous years to that, he hit 298 with a 386 on base percentage, 27 homers, 73 RBI. He hit 294 with a 370 on base percentage with 26 homers and 106 RBI. He then hit 258 with a 366 on base, 38 homers and 102 RBI. I mean, he had a stretch of 3 years there that were really, really good. In fact, that year he finished 17th in the MVP voting.
So as I'm looking at it now, I see where my little mix-up is. So Stairs did not have the type of early to mid-career that Schwarber did. He basically was, if I'm looking at the same numbers you are...
Well, it depends.
A 4-year run.
It depends because he started off in Montreal. He barely played.
Well, really quick. So he was actually not drafted. I just looked it up. Schwarber was a high draft pick prospect.
Schwarber was a very high draft pick, yes. I think he was a First
He
round
might have
pick,
been
right?
first overall pick. I mean, look it up. But Schwarber was a highly regarded draft pick when he came up with the Cubs, and they helped them win the World Series. Stairs was an undrafted guy who kind of looks like he was kind of meandering through the world until Oakland picked him up.
Yeah, but when he got to Oakland, it was early in his career, but he was an older guy. He was 28 years, I say older guy.
He was a late starter.
He was a 28-year-old guy in Oakland when he first got started, and then he came out. I mean, I am shocked that those were his first couple seasons in the league. Now, after that, he kind of faded off as an everyday player, full-time player, and he didn't have seasons close to those three. But those 3 seasons in Oakland were very Schwarberish. I got to give that guy on the text message. Listen, I'll be the first to tell you when I think you're way off base. I'll also be the first to tell you I agree with you.
I think the reason why I didn't like the analogy was because I think the suggestion is that Schwarber is going to fade at the end of his career like Stairs did. Schwarber was the fourth overall pick in the draft. He came up with the Cubs initially at 22 years old. Then he had that injury. Then he came back for the World Series, helped them win the World Series. And Schwarber had a run from age 24 to now age 32, okay? So that's the window we're talking about, where aside from the COVID year, every year he has had at least 26 home. The worst one I see here was 315 in 2017. So Schwarber has like an 8-9 year window, and Matt Stairs had a 4-year window. So I think that's for me where I was looking at it as I feel like you're undervaluing what Schwarber's going to be as he gets older.
Well, I think Schwarber is a very interesting yet important piece for the Phillies. I do agree with what Bob said earlier is how long do you want to pay him, when you're paying a guy into his older years of his career? Do you look at him as a guy who's going to start diminishing as he gets older, as Stairs did? They had similar runs early in their career, and then Stairs kind of, it's hard to say. I'm not, because I don't want to compare him to Stairs. I think Schwarber's a better but man, I'm looking at Stairs again. In 2003, he had a 389 on base percentage.
So the guy
292, 389 on base percentage, 20 homers that year in 120 games.
So the guy I compared him to was Giambi. So I pulled up Giambi's numbers. Giambi at age 32 had 41 home runs and 107 RBI. Giambi at age 34, 35, both had 30 home run seasons, and one of them was 100 RBI. And at age 37, he had 32 homers and 96 RBI. So I think that's why I look at Schwarber closer to Giambi, because I see Schwarber maintaining a certain level of production that Giambi did as he got older. Giambi really didn't drop off the face of the earth until after his age 37 season. So to me, if Schwarber's a free agent, like Bob was talking about, when he's a free agent, does he want to go back home? Does he resign here? For those who don't know, Schwarber is from the Cincinnati area. He grew up a Reds fan. But if he stays here and you say, hey, Schwarber, we're going to give you a 4-year contract, if you say he's going to be aging more like Giambi and not like Matt Stairs, you're going to get your money's worth.
The Guardians lineup is out. The Phillies is not, to my knowledge, yet. I do not see the Phillies lineup. I do see a Guardians lineup out there. We've got, let me see if I can try to picture what the Phillies will do with this lineup tonight. It's been pretty steady except for the 9-hole hitter.
Well, remember, it's right-handed pitchers all week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's tough because we're just talking to Bob. He thinks the Phillies are going to play like 5 and 4 of these 9 games coming up. Rojas 5, Marsh 4. Okay. So is he going to switch them almost every other night? Is he going to let Marsh go again since he had a good game last night? I'm thinking that Marsh is going to be in the lineup. I'm trying to think, is there a...
Well, really quick.
Does he want to get a Weston Wilson or a Sosa out there? I doubt he's going to take Stott out after the home run and a couple games there. I don't think Sosa's in the lineup tonight. Is Wilson out there? I mean, because last night Kepler played right. Castellanos was the DH, and he had Schwarber in left. So does Schwarber go back to the DH, Kepler go back to left, or does Wilson go play left field tonight? And I don't think so. I think the lineup's almost – I would imagine the lineup is exactly the same as it was last night.
Well, what I'm looking up right now is, the Phillies love their matchups, right? So remember,
no one's faced this guy except for Kepler, basically, from what I saw.
Who are you talking about?
The pitcher tonight.
Gavin Williams?
The guy the Phillies are facing tonight, no one's faced him except for Kepler. Has faced him like 6 times.
Well, Kepler's faced him the most, but there are other guys who have
I'm talking
faced
about
him.
more than once. You're going to give me a guy 0 for 1. All right.
No, but for example, Alec Boehm is 2 for 2 versus the guy.
Okay, he's faced him twice. I'm talking about I want like a sample size of more than 1 day.
Fine. But
No, that's what I said. Nobody. Kepler's 0 for 6. Other than that, Turner has 3 at-bats. 6 at-bats isn't a sample size.
Right. I get that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, I was trying to make it a point here originally.
Yeah, and I think this
about
point's
what
going to be a
happened on
weak
Wednesday.
point. I think this point's going to be a weak point, but you can make it. I'm trying to save you from a weak point.
Well, let me make my weak point.
I'm
Then you
going
hurt me
to.
for it.
I'm going to. Well, I'm stressing that I think the sample size for everybody today is way too small to read into anything.
I agree with that. But my original point is that we had a very small sample size on Wednesday against Shane Baz. But guess who started in center field that game? It was Rojas. And part of the reason was because we went and looked at that. Rojas, even though it was a limited sample size, had more success against Baz.
Yeah, but the
than Marsh did.
guys in play here, there is no sample size for anybody.
No, there's not. But guess what? Marsh has never faced this guy.
Neither has Rojas.
Right. So,
So, I mean,
so what do you value in terms of the situation?
This is one of those things where it's just, hey, you got a right-handed pitcher going tonight. Maybe I'm just going to stick with Marsh because he had a couple hits last night. Do I want to get Rojas back in the lineup? I would imagine
So
Marsh is
saying
going to play.
stick with the hot bat.
There is those guys, hot bats, not hot bats. I think it's more Marsh. Yes, the hot bat last night was Marsh. He looks like he's got something going here. Let's just stick with him because it's a right-handed pitcher. I think if it was a left-handed pitcher, Rojas would have been playing tonight. Not that Rojas' splits are all that great against lefties, but I just think they don't want Marsh facing left-handers. So I think the lineup will be exactly the same tonight as it was last night. That would be my my
Working
prediction.
theory.
My working theory.
By the way, the only one of the starting pitchers.
Here's the Phillies lineup. Here you go.
Just dropped.
I got it. Stott, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, Kepler, Boehm, Rojas, Marchand. The last time I got Marchand right.
It's interesting.
So Marchand's catching, Rojas is in center. So Marsh, I was wrong on that too. I thought they would just stick with Marsh 2 nights in a row.
That's fascinating. Then why? So what do you think the reasoning then would be to go Rojas here?
Maybe to what I've been saying, like just get Rojas. Like I think maybe they're favoring Rojas as the guy, and they want to make sure that he gets the playing time.
It'd be interesting to see then. Do they play Rojas Friday, then they play Marsh Saturday?
I'm sure you'll see Marsh one of these games. Is there a lefty pitching in this series at all?
No.
Okay, so
They're all right-handers.
Marsh will probably play
Williams
one of these
tonight,
games.
Bybee tomorrow, and Ortiz on Sunday.
40 Kid, I see you. Happy Friday. TGIF, go Phils, he says. Appreciate it, man. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. All right, I got you the Phillies lineup there. It's a little different. You got Rojas hitting 8th. Marchand is in the lineup tonight. He is hitting 9th. It's random. Why Marchand tonight?
I'm going to maybe guess that maybe the theory is that because they had to leave Tampa last night and fly to Cleveland, that maybe it's a tighter turnaround for Real Muto. I'm literally making.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean
maybe
Muto
because
had that
Marchand is
ankle the other day.
Is maybe Marchand caught Nola more this year? Is that
Well,
what he was
I'll
looking
tell
to
you
do?
this. This could be the thing. A lot of times the catcher gets the day game after the night game off, and they play Sunday night this week.
Right.
Maybe they said, hey, do you want to play Sunday night or Friday?
So maybe they went to Real Muto.
Maybe. I mean, maybe it was just one of those things where it's not a day game after a night game, and they'd rather have him be on the game for
Well,
Sunday night.
You mentioned the foul ball.
Who's pitching tonight?
Nola.
So Nola's matched up with Marchand again.
That's what I just said. I just said did they play?
But wasn't that a
Marchand?
whole thing like that he kept getting matched up with Marchand, and then he was struggling, and then he went to Real Muto, and he started to
for a
settle
pitch
down.
better, right.
Interesting.
That's what I was trying to bring up to you there. So like, why would they want to go away from Real? Did Real Muto maybe land in Cleveland and say, My ankle's a little sore for that foul ball.
That could have been. Could have been. All right, football at 4, 15 minutes. DiCecco's in the house. Stick around. 10 to the top of the hour, Sports Bash Live. 10 minutes, Andrew DiCecco, football at 4, Eagles topics for you guys that you're going to stick around for. I want to get Andrew's take on a bunch of things. As some teams have OTAs today. See Sanders out in the field?
I saw Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel got the first reps for the Browns.
I saw somebody say if Dylan Gabriel was 6'3", he's a first-round pick.
Yeah, a lot of people are down on him because of his size. He is.
You think the Browns regret drafting him in the 3rd round since they got Sanders in the 5th round?
No, because I think the Browns and the rest of the NFL is trying to send Shedeur Sanders a message that you work for us, we don't work for you.
Well, they didn't know he was getting him that late.
They don't care. There was principle involved in this decision.
Yeah, but would they have taken, I don't want to say wasted a pick on another quarterback if they knew they were getting one in the 5th round? So essentially you took a guy in the 3rd round who you might like your 5th round pick better than. Did you now not address something in the 5th round that you could have taken?
Of course they didn't, but then I didn't say they were smart.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Are they not smart for making this decision? Do they regret it? Hindsight being, man, I wish we didn't take Gabriel in the 3rd. If we knew, we could have got that guy in the 5th. Now, of course, you don't know it. That's what hindsight is.
I think in a few years, Andrew Berry is going to be fired in Cleveland.
Howie Roseman disciple.
He hasn't learned much from Howie.
Who's the most successful Howie Roseman disciple?
It's a good question. There haven't been many. His disciples are turning into Bill Belichick head coaches.
The Greg Popovich, the Greg Popovich tree. Who's the best Greg Popovich tree? Brett Brown? Udoka coached under Brett.
Udoka coached under
He's there, right?
Popovich. I would say he's got to be up there.
Who else?
Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr was from the Popovich tree. So he'd be the most successful.
He was an assistant there?
Short time with the Spurs, yeah.
Don't remember that.
Before he became an executive with the Suns, and then he did TV, and then he went to the Warriors.
Do you count Andrew Light as a Howie Roseman disciple? I mean,
Jason Light?
Jason Light.
Not really. They were more colleagues than anything else because they worked together under Andy Reid.
I mean, he was an Eagle.
You hear the story that Howie Roseman introduced Jason Light to his future wife?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying he was here. I don't know what year he got hired to go to Tampa. That he would have been like, is he part of the Roseman tree? Or I like a Cleveland Brown fan chiming in says, Mike, I'm a Cleveland fan. They're damned if they do. They're damned if they don't. They swung and missed on so many quarterbacks. What was the downside of picking 2 in the draft? 5th-round picks hardly make the team anyway, so I don't think they wasted it. I'm not saying they wasted the Sanders pick. I'm wondering if they wasted the 3rd-round pick. I'll tell you the last time I can remember a team drafting 2 quarterbacks in the same draft. Do you remember? One that vividly stands out to me.
Washington, because there was Robert Griffin III and Kirk Cousins.
That's right. They took Robert Griffin III in the 1st round, and they took Kirk Cousins in the 4th, I think. Yes. And Cousins has obviously been the better quarterback career-wise. RG3 was the better initial.
By the way, Jason Light left Philadelphia after the 2007 season.
2007, so Roseman wasn't quite into prominence at that point.
Was
he
Joe
the
Banner.
GM, though?
Who?
Roseman. When did he get announced as – when was he officially because he had the GM title even though he didn't really do much with the title and when Andy was there, right? Was that like 11? Like 2011, I think. Somewhere around there.
So
well, Andy left in 12 was his last year.
Yeah, and he was 12. So he became general manager in 2010.
Oh, Howie. So 10, yeah. That's it, right around 11. That's what I
So
figured.
when Jason Light left, Howie's position was vice president of football administration.
So was he like head of the people who answer the phone?
I don't know.
What is that job? How do I get that job? I always wonder, like, you see all these just hanger-oners and stand-arounders. What are they doing? And like we always talk about like how much they get to pay the players. What are those guys getting paid to just stand there and be a guy who gets to sit in the draft room? I want to make that my job for 1 year. I don't care what I'm doing. I just want to sit in the draft room 1 season. Can I get that job? Like, what do I have to be?
Job.
Can I be like assistant to the traveling secretary? Football at 4 is coming up next here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. A lot of Eagles stuff this week. They're getting ready for OTAs. Andrew DiCecco's in the house. You got a lot of roster battles now that we can kind of sink our teeth into as they get ready for the spring portion of the NFL schedule. Andrew DiCecco covers the Philadelphia Eagles at InsideTheBirds.com and the Inside the Birds podcast, where those guys have been doing their 53-man rosters. We had some fun with that with Adam Kaplan yesterday, who pinch hit for Andrew, who is hitting today on a happy hour Friday on the Sports Bash. What's up, my man? How are you?
Hey, Mike, doing well. How about yourself?
Always good, man. Always good to catch up with you. We know this is the time of the year where they're putting that roster together. I want to start with this, though. Last week, we asked you the positional battle that you're looking forward to. You went corner over there, if memory serves, Ringo, Adoree Jackson. Do you think the Eagles are okay? Mac McWilliams, I want to throw him in there, too, because I like him a lot. Do you think they're okay entering this portion with what they have at corner at that spot?
At the moment, yes. You have to give the players that you've went through the offseason with the opportunity to earn a spot. And then I think once you get through training camp, Mike, if you're not happy with what you've seen or there is some cause for concern, then you look to add an outside resource. But I don't think that they're there yet. I think you owe it to Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson, really Keely Ringo, because you've already invested 2 years in him. And if you're not getting what you expect, maybe by August or early in the preseason, then you try to make a move. I think it's way too early to sound the alarm. But I will say, on the surface, I am underwhelmed with that group.
Okay, so I start with them because that was the area I think you said the battle that you're looking forward to. Justin Simmons' name, it keeps coming up. You know, it's an obvious connection there. Vic Fangio, Denver, very good player. What about at that safety spot? Would you prefer to see them bring a veteran player like Justin Simmons in here, or would you rather roll out this green room of safeties and let them all battle at it in training camp?
Yeah, I'm not there yet. I think that you have to let the young players have that opportunity. And I think Drew Makuba offers a lot more potential, and he can grow within that defense than someone like a Justin Simmons, who, by the way, if the Eagles sign him, it's to be a starter. And I don't think the Eagles drafted someone like a Drew Makuba in the second round to sit on the bench. Unless he's behind the eight ball and he's not grasping the defense, which would be really shocking to me because he does have a immensely high football IQ. That would be something that they might explore. But I think right now you have to go with Reed Blankenship, Drew Makuba, Sidney Brown, and then that fourth spot between Tristan McCollum, Lewis Seen, Andre Sam, and Maxon Hook. Let those guys battle it out for the fourth.
All right, we're kind of looking at some of the roster battles moving forward. You look corner, you got safety. Do you feel that the linebacker room is set at this stage, or is that a spot they still need? You got, obviously, Dean very much in limbo. They drafted a player that has an injury issue coming in as well with Campbell in the first round. So do they think that they need to find losing Oren Burks, someone to replace that, or is this room pretty set for you?
This is exactly why I felt that Oren Burks should have been a priority, because they were already really light at linebacker, Mike. And then as I'm going through it, maybe 4 off-ball linebackers are on the 53. Zach Bond, Jihad Campbell, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and rookie Smile Mondin Jr., with Nakobe Dean likely opening the season on the active PUP list, because that is such a gruesome injury and the timetable's a little bit lengthy there. Jihad Campbell's interesting because you don't quite know if he's going to be able to, how much he's going to be able to shoulder in the early going. So I think if you look at it, you can only really count on 3 guys. But, I mean, I think you might have to add another veteran there to kind of just boost that unit. But they could always, I mean, that's an area that they have gone lighter in the past. You can always stash somebody on the practice squad and elevate them while Campbell is sort of, I don't want to say ramping up, but kind of finding his way and hitting his stride, because he's going to, he had shoulder surgery in March, so it's not like you can expect him to hit the ground running in training camp. So it might take a little bit of time to kind of find that stride.
I was going to say, do we think that Campbell, it's a fait accompli that he'll be ready to start the season?
I think he will. Yeah, I do think he will. But again, at what capacity? How much can he help you? What's his snap share looking like? That remains to be determined.
All right, let me go to the edge rusher spot. That's a spot where they do have some veteran guys there, guys who've been in the league. Jalen's a second-year player, very, very young. Green had a flash at the end of last year. You got Uche and Ojulari. Both have been in the league but have been disappointing. Then you got, obviously, Huff, who is still here. Is that a spot that you're okay with?
I am. And you mentioned Josh Uche. That's a player that I'm not so sure he makes the roster, because when we have to keep looking back to 2022 where he had 11.5 sacks, I mean, that's a little bit troubling to me. The last couple of seasons have been pretty underwhelming, and I'm not so sure that he's going to be able to do enough, because he is largely a one-dimensional player, undersized, not really helpful against the run. Bryce Huff, there's a lot of money owed to him. I believe it's $16.75 million. He's not a fit for this defense in all likelihood, but then it becomes, can you find a suitor for him? If not, he's going to be on the roster. Then they drafted Antoine Powell-Ryland. I don't view Howie Roseman as someone who's going to make a hasty decision and part with a draft pick. So there's your 5, including Azeez Ojulari. So I think that room's okay, and it gives you some optionality and versatility.
All right, the defensive tackle spot also in flux here. They haven't really added much at that spot there, which is a little bit of a surprise. Are you surprised that they're just kind of going with what they have at that spot? I guess they're really looking for – well, they did add a draft pick there in the 4th round there, obviously in Robinson, but they didn't go out and get a veteran player to add to that is what I meant.
Yeah, personally I am surprised, and this is something that I've been pretty adamant about throughout the offseason, that Milton Williams, he played 500 snaps. So you have to look at the depth behind Jalen Carter. Is there anyone who can sort of shoulder that load? Well, Jordan Davis and Moro Ojomo each played 388 snaps last season. Is it realistic to expect Ojomo to suddenly play 45, 50% of the snaps being undersized, or ask Jordan Davis to take on a larger workload as well? I don't know. That's a projection. Ty Robinson's more of a supplementary piece. I think he's going to have an early impact as a rookie. And then you have Thomas Booker, who made the team last year and played 18% of the snaps and was really effective in those limited snaps. I thought he hustled and played with a lot of effort and violence. But as you can see, they're a little light behind Jalen Carter. I should say there's a lot of question marks and projection.
All right, Andrew DiCecco, Football at 4. That's kind of a look at the defensive, the battles that are happening and whether or not Philadelphia needs, as OTAs get here, should they add to that group? They go on the offensive side of the ball. That number 3 wide receiver spot, we know the first 2 are set. But is that a spot that they need to bring in more talent and competition, or do you like that room, number 3 wideout?
Number 3 wideout with Jahan Dotson, I'm all right with. But then again, you have to look at the future, because eventually the pendulum will swing, and the Eagles are going to have to go a little bit more cost-effective on the offensive side, because you're going to have to start to pay your defensive guys. There's not a lot there behind A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. Johnny Wilson, Aniyah Smith, Danny Gray is a player who I really like out of SMU, was a 3rd-round pick of the 49ers, can run. He runs a blistering 40 time a 4.3, and he can work all 3 levels. And it's been my understanding that behind the scenes, working the scout team, he was giving those starting defensive backs all they bargained for. And so those are names that I just mentioned that aren't household names. So I think they need to do a little bit more there to add a little bit more depth, because what happens if AJ or Devontae have to miss a game or miss a series? Are you going to now trust Johnny Wilson and Jahan Dotson to step up and be able to give you some sort of adequate returns? I think that's a little presumptuous. That's an area that I think they need to address.
Yeah, that is, it's a good point, because, obviously, if you lose any of the top 2 guys, to ask the 3-4 guys that are left on this roster, hey, now you're one of the top guys. Can they, fill that role? Do they have the right guy there? Is Dotson a guy that can, pick up his game, go play on the outside? Can that be Terrace Marshall? That'll be something to watch as we get here. I want to get to running back. Do you feel comfortable with that room? It seems that A.J. Dillon, many people think that's an upgrade. Kenny Gainwell is no longer here. Shipley's still in the mix.
Yeah, I like the running back room a lot. Behind Saquon Barkley, I think Will Shipley's going to be the number 2 running back. A.J. Dillon, when he signed, a lot just assumed, and he very well still may be, that he would be, you can write his name in pen as the second running back. But when Saquon has to come off the field and needs a blow, more often than not, you're going to want to try and replace him with somebody who has a differing skill set as a change-up runner, and that is Will Shipley, who is such a dynamic player, has explosiveness and a little bit more juice. And then I think that you can use someone like an A.J. Dillon to be the fill-in if Barkley were to have to miss a game. He can salt games away by being that between-the-tackles grinder. And then let's not forget Avery Williams, the return specialist who the Eagles signed from the Falcons, who, if you listen to Nick Sirianni, they want to get him involved on offense a little bit. And he was used as a running back at one point in time for the Falcons, so I have to imagine that's how he's going to be listed on the 53.
All right, then you got the offensive line. That's, there's a lot of draft choices, 3 up there. That's one of the things I want to pinpoint. You got 3 rookies that they drafted. You imagine that they don't want to cut their rookies. So does all 3 of those guys, do they all make this team? That kind of cuts in because you got 5 starters, all 3 of those guys. You would imagine neither one of the 3. So that's 8 guys right there. Or do you see not all 3 of those guys making this team when you look at that room?
Well, right now, and then again, this is my way too early 53, I have Drew Kendall and Miles Hinton. Drew Kendall, of course, the center guard drafted out of Boston College, and Miles Hinton, the tackle drafted in the 6th round out of Michigan. I have them making it. I don't have Cameron Williams, the player from Texas, the tackle from Texas, who's a little bit inexperienced in green, making it. I do have Holland Pierce, the undrafted free agent, rounding out that group, the undrafted free agent from Rutgers who can play. Obviously, he was a tackle there. And it's worth noting that during rookie minicamp, he repped at right guard. Now, that was largely due to the lack of bodies. That also affects the alignment. But I'm curious to see if the Eagles view him as having that optionality.
Yeah, it's funny. The offensive line, I just saw Andre Dillard just signed with the 49ers. The Eagles draft offensive linemen. They always seem to find a place somewhere in this league. So we know that room will probably have a lot of very intriguing battles, especially at that right guard spot, which for the 2nd straight year will be one that we'll all be kind of watching. Who are you handicapping there? Are you a Kenyon Green, a Tyler Steen, or do you have a wild card?
No, I'm Tyler Steen all the way. That's a name that I've mentioned 1,000 times. It feels like this offseason as a player that, for whatever reason, Mike, it just seems like there's not a lot of folks who are sold on Tyler Steen. I know that last summer it was a long time ago, a year ago, but he was the front runner to be the starter at right guard. Credit Mekhi Becton for seizing that opportunity. But Tyler Steen's a good football player, and he had to enter games a lot of times midway through games. And I thought that he gave you pretty good returns. And he's now been there for 2 years. He's been at Stoutland University for 2 years. He's a little bit more athletic and moves better than Mekhi Becton. And when you play with Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, and Lane Johnson, you can kind of, I don't want to say hide, but you can mask whatever deficiencies may be there for that player. So I think that Tyler Steen would be the guy. And Kenyon Green being the Tyler Steen of last year who can play both guard spots.
All right, Andrew. I know the quarterback room is obviously settled at the top, but do you think there is a battle for the number 2, or is it more just a battle for number 3?
No battle for number 2. I'd be shocked if anybody was to unseat Tanner McKee. To me, he's pretty firmly entrenched as the number 2. Now, the 3rd spot, again, I still don't even view that as a competition, but it's me personally. I'm not infatuated with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I wasn't throughout the pre-draft process, and he's a very unpolished player. And I think someone like Kyle McCord, who the Eagles just drafted, and I think he has the ability to develop into the number 2, depending on how teams view Tanner McKee in the future. You might need Kyle McCord to be that too. And I don't think that Thompson Robinson's a player that is going to turn a lot of heads in training camp. He might be somebody that they can safely get to the practice squad. And he kind of gives you some unique looks on the scout team.
All right, there's a look at everything except for the tight end spot. And as reported earlier this week, it looks like Goddard, well, he will be back. He's going to take a pay cut to stay here. How does that change the complexion of how you saw this tight end room, and what does it mean now?
Yeah, quite a bit. A great deal. I think Dallas Goedert's immensely underrated. I think he's sort of taken for granted in many ways because of how efficient he is in the passing game and the running game, and being that safety valve for Jalen Hurts, and he can work the seams, and he's so effective after the catch, lethal after the catch, really. And I think he's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. So when you have him headlining that room, all of a sudden it looks all the more, potent, that offense. And Grant Calcaterra being the backup, I think that's all they really need on the 53. Guys like Kylan Granson and E.J. Jenkins, who I think very highly of, and even Harrison Bryant, I think they can get them to the practice squad. and then they can be that game day elevation. Or if injury arises, they can sign him to the 53.
All right, that's a look at the tight end room there as we take a look at when. Do you know when the OTAs begin? They're soon, aren't they?
Late May.
Late May. Okay, because I do see some teams out there now. I wasn't sure if there was next weekend for Philadelphia. So we do have a couple weeks until the OTAs get going. But some of the teams are out there. I know Cleveland was one of them today that have been out on the field. And over at InsideTheBirds.com, you know these undrafted rookies pretty well. Are there any ones that you will be keeping extra attention to? Because the Eagles have been one of those teams that have found undrafted rookie free agents, and they have made their way onto their final rosters.
Well, Holland Pierce, and you're right. It seems like almost every year. Last year was an exception. The Eagles find at least one undrafted free agent that they really like, and they want to develop, and they keep them on the 53. So this year, I think that they do find one, and I believe that player could be Holland Pierce, the 6'8", 340-pound tackle from Rutgers. If he has versatility, that helps his case even more. But there's other players like Maxon Hook from Toledo. He was Quinyon Mitchell's roommate. He was a strong safety there, a starter for, I believe, all 4 seasons. Has a decent skill set. I think he's pretty versatile. Doesn't run particularly well, but he's going to be battling with the Tristan McCullums and the Andre Sams and Louis Scenes of the world. I don't have him on my 53 right now. I haven't seen him play. We'll have to wait and see. But another player would be Montrell Johnson, the running back from Florida. Really a powerful physical runner. He finishes plays, and he has really good contact balance. So those are 3 guys right there.
All right, I'm going to leave you with this. Talk with Andrew DiCecco, Football 4 from Inside the Birds, of course, InsideTheBirds.com. Mac McWilliams, I like him a lot. I'm very intrigued. Is he in the battle for outside, or is he more of a reserve slot guy? How are you going to keep an eye on what they do with him?
Yeah, I like him because he's competitive. And one thing that he said during rookie minicamp, Mike, that really stood out to me is that I'm the biggest guy on the field. That's my mentality. That's how I see it. Because a lot has been made about his lack of length. He's 5'10", 191 pounds, and he has sub 30-inch arms. So to play on the outside at the pro level, that's grossly undersized. But I think that the Eagles view him as a backup on the outside and at nickel and being an asset on special teams. So eventually, I feel like he's going to play his way into a situational role, but I think right now he'll be a backup at 2 spots.
The last guy I want to get your take on, and you wrote about Antoine Powell-Ryland, and I liked what he said. He got drafted in the 6th round. He's disappointed. He said, all I need is a chance. As long as I get a shot, I'm not really worried about stuff. You got a chance to see him at the rookie minicamp stuff that they had last weekend. Is that a guy that you think factors into their plans at all?
Yes, but I don't think in the immediate future. I believe he'll make the team. And again, I'm saying that without having seen him take a competitive snap. But knowing how productive he was, Bruce Smith, the great Bruce Smith of the Buffalo Bills, he's a mentor for him. And I'm not expecting Howie Roseman to move off of a draft pick, a 2025 draft pick this early. Again, a lot of it's going to have to do to if he can help them on special teams. But I kind of view him as a player that would be inactive most weeks, but a developmental prospect. So I do like him quite a bit. I'm curious to see how defensive end / outside linebackers coach Jeremiah Washburn is able to refine his skill set, because he does need to be a lot better against the run. That was one thing that really stood out to me when I watched this tape. I love this pass rush upside. I liked his physicality and hand usage, but he gave you almost next to nothing against the run. That's going to have to improve.
All right, Andrew DiCecco, there you go. A little breakdown of where the roster stands now. That you got Goddard back in the mix. That was very important, right? I mean, to get him here, that solidifies a lot that this isn't looming over them to get that done. You got that now. I guess the next thing will be, is there still a veteran player that they want to bring in here to kind of add some competition? Otherwise, I would imagine they're not done, but just minor tweaks. Maybe a veteran at one of these positions, that could be something to keep an eye on. But it looks like it should be a fun OTA coming up in a couple of weeks as the battles will begin. Andrew DiCecco from the Inside the Birds podcast at InsideTheBirds.com here on a Friday Football at 4. Thanks, bud.
You bet. Take care, bud.
There he is, man. Andrew DiCecco on a happy hour Friday. I know DiCecco usually on the Thursday show. For the Friday people out there, there's Andrew. He usually does the Thursday Football at 4. Adam and him flip-flop this week, so we had Andrew on. Always like his feedback. There you go. There's a look at the entire roster, all the battles, where they sit. What do you guys think about the Eagles' What do they still need? Give me something that you want to see Howie Roseman still do. 609-403-0973. What is something that you want to see Howie Roseman still do? Is it something that's glaring or like an embarrassment of riches? The one thing I'm torn on is, you want to see Drew Makuba win that job? Do you want Sidney Brown to win that job? Or would you rather Justin Simmons, a veteran player? So many times Philadelphia fans seemingly want the big-name guy. Hey, that guy's available. You got to go get him. But we've been burned by the guy who's at the end of the road the last couple of years. Kevin Byard was a guy that when you got him, now, Byard had a pretty good year with the Bears. I don't know that he was like a impactful Pro Bowl level player, but it wasn't like he was a cooked fighter, right? He wasn't a shot fighter. He just did not fit what you did here. Justin Simmons would fit what you do here. He's played for Vic Fangio. So was that a necessity? Like, would you feel more comfortable? You know what? I think they need to get a veteran in there. Like, what is your mindset if you're an Eagles fan? Let me know. 609-403-0973. That's the text board, how you can get involved.
To me, Mike, the simple answer is this. I like the idea of bringing in Justin Simmons, and I'm not worried about what happened in the past because Sean Desai is no longer here. Sean Desai was the problem.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Byard didn't seemingly fit into what they were doing, and it just didn't work out.
Right. Sean Desai, we've talked about this numerous times here on 97.3 ESPN. He was a horrible communicator. He did not know how to manage the defense. The players almost had a mutiny against him, and that's why they made the change in season. So, to me, I don't mind bringing in Justin Simmons. And if you're someone who believes that the losses of C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Darius Slay are very significant, then the more people here to help compete, the better.
I like the competition part of it. That I agree with. If you can get someone to compete, my question, I guess, would be for Justin Simmons is he going to come here and want to be the starter? We'll see.
I think if you don't want to be the starter,
well,
then
yeah, everybody wants to be the starter. But I'm saying, does he want to be promised that he's the starter, or is he not? Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it more like, hey, we want to sign you, but you're here to basically compete?
So you're kind of wondering, where can he check his ego at the door?
Yeah, we're not guaranteeing you anything. And then he might say, well, I don't really want to be there. Like, I only want to come if I'm coming because I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to be – we'll see. We'll see how that all pans out. That's the one spot that I wouldn't mind if they went out and got a veteran player. Nuggets are coming up. Knicks Nuggets on the way. We'll see what Earnshaw's got today. Phillies lineup today. Marchand is in the lineup. Rojas is hitting the 8-hole. Everything else is the same, except for some positions. Schwarber's the DH. Castellanos is back and right. Kepler's back and left. So there you go. More Sports Bash coming up. 97.3 ESPN. All right, 429 Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. Time for Nick's Nuggets. They are brought to you by The Hub. Gear that works as hard as you do. A couple things, Nuggets. Now, yesterday I had a nugget for Nugget, and I forgot to give it to him. I'll have to do that today. Got some more coming up right now for today's edition of Nick's Nuggets here on a Happy Hour Friday. What's up, Nick's Nuggets?
What's going on, Mike Gill? How are you today? I know you mentioned it. We were texting last night during the Phillies game that we both missed the nugget yesterday. I totally forgot to bring it up. We got sidetracked a little bit. I'm gonna let you start with your nugget today. How about that? We'll switch it up a little bit.
Well, you were bemoaning the point that you never want to see Rojas bunt ever again. And his suicide squeeze bunt the other night's the key to the whole game. So they listened to.
I know it worked out. There's a reason I kind of was like, I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm not going to talk about it.
All right, listen.
I forgot.
You have to be able to call yourself out when you're wrong, right?
Listen. It's okay. He got one bunt down in 3 years. Great. I'm happy for him. I'm glad it helped the team out. Hopefully, he can do it on a more consistent basis. All right. I will take the flack for the Rojas bunting. Hopefully my criticism it found its way onto the field and into his ear, and he figured out how to bunt. I'm just glad. I'm glad it worked out.
Listen, he is not a great bunter. I'm not arguing with you about that. I do agree with that. He's got bunts down. He bunts for a hit. He's not great at sacrifice bunting. He's not good at squaring and bunting. He's much better when he's trying to bunt for a hit.
Yes, much better. I still don't love when he bunts. I hope that's my whole thing about the criticism of him bunting is I hope he figures it out and gets bunts down.
Yeah, but you're saying I don't want to see him bunt anymore. That's
because it's been so bad.
You're contradicting yourself. You don't hope he figures. You don't hope he figures it out. You say you don't want to see him do it anymore
because he's been so bad for so long. He hasn't been consistent. Been consistent at all.
I never want absolutes, okay? I don't want you to stop doing something. I want you to improve at it. To say I never want to see you do it again is giving up on the fact that he has the speed to make that a weapon. So to say I don't want to see him do it again is short-sighted of, hey, I want to see him improve. Where do you improve? On May 8th in a game that what's the difference if they win or lose? Put a bunt down and see if you can help. Now, it was actually May 7th when he put but they asked him to do a suicide. And by the way, the pitch is like in on his hands. He like jumping out of the way to try to, and that was a tough pitch to get down.
Listen, if he does it again, he keeps doing it, it's going to be a weapon. It's just not a pretty sight when he bunts. He doesn't know how to square correctly. And listen, it was in on him. I get it. He got it down. They helped to win the game. Great. I love it. All right. I don't think if he tries to get another bunt down, if the next bunt he lays down, I will stop talking about him bunting. I will stop. If he gets another bunt down, 2 in a row, I will give it to him. I'll give him credit.
Well, guess what? I'm imagining he's going to bunt again this year.
All right, let's move along. Let's get.
They tried to bunt Marsh last night, and he couldn't get the bunt down.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's not consistent. All right, let's talk about that gutsy win though. Overall, last night, what a win! I mean, just gutsy. A gutsy win from the Philadelphia Phillies. That's the Nuggets. Start with the big home run. Phillies 8-2 in their last 10 games. Kyle Schwarber. I mean, the 6th longest streak since 1900 on base streak in Phillies history, 43 games, Mike Gill. He just continues to find a way to get on base somehow, some way, home run, single, walk. It doesn't matter. He has been on fire, Mike Gill. I don't know. How long do you think this streak goes? I mean, what's your prediction? Do you think he gets past the Mike Schmidts of the world, the Odubel Herrera streak from a few years back? I know we love Odubel Herrera. My goodness. That's a name to bring up. He was brutal for a while. He was more erratic than Johan Rojas, and the off-the-field stuff was brutal too. But does he get past some of those streaks, Mike?
He's come to the wire a handful of times here, right? It's been close. Where he come down to his last at bats here a couple of times. What's the Schmidt streak?
The Schmidt streak, I had it up. I think it's like 40. It's at the high 40s, I believe. Let me pull it up real quick.
Why was I thinking 52? But whatever.
Was it 52?
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets it by any stretch of the imagination. I would also not be shocked if he doesn't get it, and probably would lean more towards that, just because, you guys, these guys are facing nasty pitchers, late games, bring in a lefty. It's inevitable that he's going to run into one of those situations here, I would imagine. Now, how many more does he need to get to? That's what I got to find out. How many games?
56 is Mike Schmidt. I was thinking of Herrera. Herrera was at 45. Chuck Klein was 44, so he could tie that tonight with Chuck Klein. So he's moving up the ranks. Chuck Klein's on this list a couple of times here, Mike. I mean, he had 49. He had the 44. So he's right there. He's right in the mix with those guys and those numbers in Phillies history.
On base maven. Yeah, I mean, listen, this is one of those things where he's been on a tear. And it's funny because when he first moved to the 4-hole, he struggled a little bit.
Yeah, and it's funny because he's been all over the lineup, right? We've talked about it, a couple years ago, he was just so focused on being the leadoff guy who's more comfortable there. He's been bouncing all over the lineup, and he's been playing left field. So they've had him do a lot in a contract year as well. I mean, he's really produced. The fact he's been able to get on base going back to last year, I mean, this is a pretty impressive streak for Schwarber. I hope he keeps it going. I want him to get that Schmidt 56, 13 more games. He can get there.
Yes, he can get there. Yes, he can get there. But I wouldn't be, the pitching that you face. I know pitching overall, it's a weird dynamic. These guys are nastier, but I don't necessarily mean that there's tougher guys that you face night to night. It's just that, the whole pitch count, all that stuff is a lot different than it was back in the day.
Yeah, we'll see if he can continue that streak. He's at 43 games right now. Could tie Chuck Klein tonight. We'll see if that happens. All right, let's move along. Nugget number 2. Our buddy Andrew Painter made his debut in AAA last night. Actually, to lead off the game, struck out the top prospect in baseball, in Roman Anthony. He went 3 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, 60 pitches, Mike Gill. Did you catch any of the Painter clips from last night?
I watched it live. I didn't get clips. I was watching it live. I had it on my phone, actually. I had the game on the phone last night. I was out to dinner, and I went Iron Pigs over Phillies for the first couple of – well, the Iron Pigs started early, so they started at 6:45. So I got to watch him for the first 15 minutes before the Phillies game started. I did see that. I saw him walk the 3 guys. He had to wiggle his way out of that inning. I mean, Painter stuff's nasty. He got a big curveball that struck the guy out to end that 1 inning. I mean, yeah, he's definitely fun to watch. He's definitely going to be somebody that I think Philly fans are going to be excited to see.
Well, guess what? They were selling Andrew Painter an Iron Pig jersey. Now, is that going to be one in the closet that's going to be very valuable come later on, a few years down the line? Having that Iron Pigs Painter jersey, that's a collector's item right there, Mike. Though it could be. I shouldn't say it is. It could be.
Get yourself the Threshers one.
Oh, get the Threshers one too. Is that which one we got to go with? Threshers or Iron Pigs? Iron Pigs looked pretty cool last night. I saw some of the pictures. I know our guy Kerr, I think, was there.
Kerr was there. Frank Close was there last night.
Frank was there too? Oh, yep. Look at that. We had a whole squad over there at the Painter game. I mean, they're going to sell some tickets with Painter being there. And by the way, Garrett Stubbs really taking Painter under his wing. Seems like he's mentoring him. Another reason, a good reason that why he's down in AAA, I guess, right?
It's a big thing too. Yes, I think that's a good. It's a good connection to have him work with a big league catcher, so that he's getting that kind of mentoring and tutoring. Through his. I guess these are rehab starts. I don't know. I mean, they're not. They're not like. They're not rehab starts because he's not was never on the big league roster. So this is just kind of where he's at. But yeah, to have Stubbs be his partner and be his battery mate is a big help.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal to have him with a guy who's been in the major leagues, caught aces before, right? Been with the Phillies throughout the runs. He can really mentor him and use him during his developmental process. I think that is going to be massive for Andrew Painter. And listen, this is just another tool that the Phillies have in their system where they can have a guy like Stubbs down there with Painter help him during the developmental process to get to the big leagues because they want to bring him up quickly. They have been very clear about that. They want to get him up to the big leagues this year. We've talked about it multiple times. And the Phillies, they have tons of pitching. They have another gem down in the minor leagues. I mean, struck out Anthony last night. That was pretty cool to see. So Painter's on his way. It's getting closer and closer. You're seeing the jerseys made down in the minors. You're going to see a pinstripe one made soon, very, very, very soon.
Yeah, Bob Wankel said he thinks he's going to be up earlier than the original timeline. And there you go. There's some stuff from Stubbs after the game. He said, before the game, I told him, Painter, look, there's going to be at least one time during this game where something doesn't go your way that we want it to do, that we want the way we want it to. Something is going to happen, and you're going to have to be a man and be a competitor and figure your way out of it. That's from Ty Dalbert, who covers the Phillies for Phillies Nation. He got that quote from Phillies Nation. So good stuff from Ty. But yeah, the fact that Stubbs is telling this young man, hey, you're going to have to figure your way out of some battles here because these are the best 9 hitters as collective group that you will have ever faced in your life.
Yeah, I love it. I love seeing Stubbs mentor a guy like Andrew Painter. And I think Bob's right. I think you're going to see Painter up here real soon at some point. I think it's going to be earlier than we expected. So there's going to be a logjam with the Phillies starters and the Phillies rotation. That's for sure.
Now, what do you make of Marchand getting the start as the catcher tonight for Nola again? I just saw this. So the ERA, Nola with Marchand, 7.47 with Real Muto, 2.49. Now, Nola had got off to a bad start. He got paired up with Marchand a few times. His last 2 starts, I think, have both been with Real Muto, his best 2 starts of the year.
Yeah, I saw the ERA with Marchand compared to JT, and it's not even close. So I guess they're trying to get Marchand in at times to give JT a break. I guess maybe they feel like Nola and him have some chemistry, but the numbers don't say that. They don't say that at all. I guess they're just trying to get him in. I don't know. I'd rather see JT out there with Nola, Wheeler, the guys who are veterans overall. Yeah, this one's a head scratcher to me. I guess they're just trying to get JT some days off. But Nola with Marchand, you just said it, the ERA is really high compared to when he's with JT Realmuto, and they're on the road. So that makes it a little interesting too.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that because when I was putting the lineup together in my head, I figured it would be the same as last night. I even thought Marsh was going to play tonight, to be honest with you.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, he's been mashing the baseball since he came up. That means we're not going to get as many Rojas at bats probably, Mike. So that's going to be interesting as the season moves forward. All right, moving along. Nugget number 3. I thought this was fascinating from yesterday. As everyone probably knows by now, there is a new pope. And he was born in Chicago. And it came out, they interviewed his brother. I believe the ABC affiliate in Chicago interviewed the Pope's brother. And he told them, there was reports that he was a Chicago Cubs fan. Apparently, he's a Chicago White Sox fan, Mike Gill. And I thought that was fascinating. White Sox, well, they need a little bit of help. That's for sure. Maybe the Pope can help him out at some point. But that's probably the most notable White Sox fan out there now. That got me thinking, who is the most notable Phillies fan? Not Eagles, not Flyers, not Sixers. Phillies fan. In your estimation, you're thinking celebrity, big name. Who is the most notable Phillies fan?
Phillies baseball fan. What's that kid? What's the one guy's name? I actually had him on the radio with me.
Miles
Teller.
Yeah, I'm going Miles. I think Miles Teller is the most notable. It could go Rob McElhenney, though. I mean, that's a big one. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He's a notable one. But I think Miles Teller must be the top.
Who's bigger, Rob or Miles? I mean, I know Rob way more than I know Miles. I would think Rob trumps Miles. I had Miles on my show down in Miami. I think we were at the Super Bowl in Miami. I think I had him on the show. He was doing something. He was promoting a movie. But I would think Rob McElhenney is way more well-known than Miles Teller, maybe? I don't know.
Jay Wright could be up there, too. Is he more notable than those guys, movie stars? I don't know. That's tough for Phillies because the Eagles is pretty easy. It's like you go Bradley Cooper, you could go Kevin Hart. They're the most notable for the most part, I would think, right?
Bradley Cooper's pretty big. I mean, I know who that is. I mean, I can't believe I'm at an age now where some of these, like Miles Teller, I even had him on the air. I don't even remember what he was promoting. So I can't even tell you how big of a star Miles Teller is. But I'm getting
Top Gun.
He was in Top Gun, right?
Yeah.
He was promoting Top Gun Maverick. And it was right before COVID. So I had him on in Miami. He was promoting Top Gun Maverick, and then the movie got pushed back because of COVID. So now it's all coming back to me that's the movie. But I don't know what anything else that Miles Teller is in other than that.
Yeah, Miles Teller, it feels like he's just been in everything, Mike. He's one of those actors that you're just like, oh, he was in that too? Oh, he's in this, he's in that. He's been a lot. He was in that one movie. Oh, I can't think of the name. Whiplash. He was in that movie, Whiplash. That was a big one.
I don't know that movie.
War Dogs, Divergent. He was Fantastic Four, Footloose, Project X. He's been in a lot of movies.
Yeah, I don't know Whiplash or a lot of those movies. They're falling flat. I'm not a movie guy, so don't take it from me.
All right. I try, but I think Teller's probably the most notable Phillies fan. It seems like he's at a lot more games than most other the big time names out there.
McElhaney has another show with his soccer team that Tom Brady's a part of now. So
the one in with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, but I'm saying they're doing there's another reality show based on the season. So, and Tom Brady apparently is a part of this one. So he is, way bigger than what Miles Teller is, I guess.
All right. I would say the face though, I would be Teller because he's at more games, I feel like. They always show him. Whenever it's a playoff.
He's there during the playoffs.
Yeah, but he's been there during the regular season
There's
too.
a girl, I don't know how famous she is. She's always dancing up in the second level. I don't know what she's an actress. I don't know I can't think of her name, but she's always on my Twitter.
Interesting. All right. I'm going to go Teller as my face. Phillies fandom.
I was going to say, to me, guys, I say it's Rob McElhaney because he is famous or infamous, depending on who you ask, because he had all those Phillies players cameo on the show. So he wasn't just showing up the games. He would actually have the players come on the show, and there was a direct connection drawn in there.
That's true.
I would say the fact that his show is Always Sunny in Philadelphia makes him much bigger in the city than Miles Teller.
Yeah, I mean, you could be right. I just feel like they always show Teller first on all the games when he's at them. It feels like he's there more, especially over the past couple of years. It feels like they get McElhaney there.
Well, McElhaney's been busy running a soccer team, Nick. I mean,
welcome to Rex. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Teller might have taken his spot.
I mean, of these movies that Teller's in, Fantastic Four, I guess, is pretty big.
The Fantastic Four movie was a bomb.
That was a flop. Though.
Divergent's probably the better one.
War Dogs, Top Gun Maverick, Whiplash, The Gorge.
War Dogs was good.
He's been in a lot. He's been in a lot. I'm just saying. I think it might be Teller. Teller for the Phillies. I'd go Cooper, Kevin Hart for the Eagles for the most part.
Let's ask the Chat GPT what they think.
Ooh. While you do that, Mike, I will let you know that the Tom Brady thing you're talking about. So Tom Brady has an investment in a rival team, the Wrexham.
Oh, so that's the connection. Because
so
the show's
for those who don't know, Welcome to Wrexham. I think it's going into like a 5th or 6th year or whatever it is this year, and basically it's been, as you mentioned, Nick, Ryan Reynolds, Rob McElhaney bought into this lowly British soccer team, and they basically built them up from nothing, and they were losing like millions of dollars at one point. It was crazy.
So this is wrong. Well, maybe, because it says the biggest Phillies fan is widely considered to be Bradley Cooper, but he would be more of an Eagles fan.
Yeah, he's a Phillies fan, but I'd see him more as a face of the Eagle. I mean, he announced them into the Super Bowl, for goodness sake.
Now, Miles Teller is listed. It says other notable celebrity Philly fans include Miles Teller, Pink.
Pink's a big one.
Tina Fey, and Questlove from The Roots.
Yeah, Questlove is a big one, but Teller's at a lot of the games, though. That's why I'm saying, I'd give it to Teller. I'm going to give edge to Teller at this point.
The fact, though, that they didn't put Rob McElhaney in there, I got to say,
that's
this
crazy.
List, right? Oh,
that's crazy.
Now, okay, so I just got an updated list. Bradley Cooper, Miles Teller, Tina Fey, Rob McElhaney, Will Smith, our Hollywood TV, Pink, Questlove, and Meek Mill, which is more for the Sixers and the stuff. Mike Trout, who is more Philadelphia Eagles. He wouldn't be a
Right.
Phillies fan. They also list Mark Hoppus from Blink-182. They said he's not from Philly, but he has shown love for the Phillies, oddly enough.
All right. It's an interesting list. Yeah, some of those, I mean, some of them cross over to the Phillies, but like Cooper, Kevin Hart, I mean, you know those guys are Eagles. Like those are big Eagles fans. They're up there in the booth with Lurie, etc. So
They're
that's
also
who
big
I'd
Sixers
identify them
guys,
with.
Nick.
There's the name somebody wrote. The woman that I see, her name is Elle Adair. I don't know what she's in, but I do see her posting all the time. She's always dancing and with like a sign, and she's like dancing in the second level. I don't know that she stars in anything. I think she's more of like a hey, one episode person.
Gotcha. Yeah, they're making a cameo, essentially.
Yes, but she goes to a lot of games. I mean, she's always in my For You tab for the X platform.
You may remember Ellen Adair from Mike Homeland.
Yeah, she was in Homeland, but I think like one episode.
5 episodes.
5 episodes. Okay.
Yeah.
How about that? So she makes more of a cameo, though. I don't like more recognize.
No, she goes a lot.
But is she as recognizable as some of those other names we mentioned?
No. I would say she's not as big as those people.
Right. That's the point here. All right.
But you're saying you see her a lot, Mike.
Yeah.
I feel like I almost feel like she has season tickets.
She might have season tickets. Being at the ballpark all the time, dancing. It's a good time. It's a good time at the ballpark.
I've never heard of her though. It says that she's in the Sinner, Homeland, Bull. She is an analyst for
She was on
MLB Network.
She was on 6 episodes of Billions too.
Billions.
The last time she posted was April 23rd, and it was about Johan Rojas.
There you go.
I'll put it up on the screen for you.
That's a real fan right there if you're posting about Rojas.
Is she telling him not to bunt?
There she is.
All right. So if you're watching on the X platform, the YouTube, there it is. There's the picture. There you go. She wasn't telling him not to bunt though.
Yep, no bunt, no not to bunt, but that's her picture there. But if you go through her social media, I think a lot of her tweets are all Phillies, mostly Phillies related.
Phillies related. She's up in the bleeds, it looks like.
Yeah, she's high. I said she's always like high up there. She's usually like dancing. I usually see her dancing. See,
definitely
there you go. She got a jersey on there.
Yep. Yeah. True fan right there, sitting up in the bleeds.
Yep, there she is dancing.
There you go. There you go. I love it. All right, before I get out of here, final nugget. Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, starting a new podcast. Exciting Mites.
We're watching her really break it down there.
All right, before I get out of here, I got to get this nugget in. Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, Exciting Mike's new podcast. I know how much you love the Player Podcast, Mike Gill.
What happened to the Exciting Whites? I thought they were calling it.
No, but this is the podcast, Exciting Mike's. So there you go.
Why didn't they stick with the name they had before?
I don't know. Who knows? I guess to make a play on a podcast, the microphones. I don't know. But that one, I don't know. Hopefully it's not a tough listen like some of these other Player podcasts.
I would tell you right off the bat, I have no interest.
Oh, man. There could be some nuggets in there. You never know. I might have to use it for next year's nuggets or something.
I'll leave you guys to listen to them. And if there's a nugget and you want to enter it into the show, you're more than welcome to. I'm not going to listen to the podcast. I'm sorry to both Reed Blankenship and Cooper DeJean.
There it is, Mike. 4-pack of nuggets for you on a Friday.
There you go. All right. Nuggets are brought to you by The Hub. Gear that works as hard as you do. Thanks, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you.
All right. And don't forget, Nick Earnshaw, tomorrow in the locker room, a special edition of the locker room. It is Billy's 10-year anniversary tomorrow, and they'll have all sorts of fun stuff, I'm sure, tomorrow at 10 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And don't forget, we got Phillies baseball, Sunday night baseball, right here on 97.3 ESPN. 5 o'clock drive home, happy hour Friday. I got Josh from Cape May, Kane Party Wave. I like that one. That's a good one. He said probably my favorite. 4.11 on Untapped. Josh, that's a good one. The Kane Party Wave got me going. He even sent a picture of the Kane Party Wave on this happy hour Friday. That gets me going. That gets me ready for the weekend, baby. It's supposed to be like 73 and sunny tomorrow. Feeling good.
If anyone ever wants to know, how do I get my text read on the radio by Mike Gill? You send in the picture of the beer, and I promise you, Mike Gill will shout you out.
The picture definitely helps because it gives me a sense of whether I've had it or not. Like sometimes the name doesn't, generally I'll remember the name. Our buddy Jeff in Ocean City, who usually will text in something cool, something different, says, I wish I had a beer. I'm working 11 soccer games. He's watching today on his home TV on YouTube.
Thanks, Jeff.
I like that, Jeff. Sorry that you can't be a part of Happy Hour Friday this week. If you're having a cold one, if you're going to have something this weekend, let me know what it is, where I can get it. We'll include it in today's Happy Hour Friday at the end of the show. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. What else we got here? We had a bunch of texts earlier in today, people sending me some Happy Hour Friday stuff that I wanted to get out there. Oh, boy, this is a interesting day. The Phillies getting ready to take on the here's one. I've been enjoying a couple Busch Light apples. They are perfect for spring and summer season. Have you seen the Busch Light apple? I have seen this beer before, by the way. I haven't tried it.
I would definitely try this.
Brian in EHC says crushing it from Cape May is killer, especially if you can find it on tap. Now, we had the conversation last week about canned beer versus tap beer.
Yes.
Draft beer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a canned beer guy.
Now, again, explain to the audience why.
Couple of reasons. Number one, I feel that the beer is colder longer in the can. Now, some people say you're not drinking fast enough. Well, I'm not like in college anymore where I'm slamming beers. I like to enjoy my beer.
Right.
That would be one. Two, I feel the taste of there's a better taste from the canned beer. And this isn't everybody. It's not an indictment on anybody. I'm not like calling anybody out. I'm just saying there's a propensity for draft lines to sometimes, because of all the moisture in there, to maybe give it a little bit of a different taste sometimes. So I generally, now when I go to breweries, they all have draft beer. So I'm not anti-draft beer. I just prefer the can. So in other words, if I go to the brewery, I would take the 6-pack or sometimes 4-packs. They generally have 4-packs now. I would rather the 4-packs or the 6-pack. I prefer a 6-pack of 12-ounce cans over a 4-pack of 16-ounce cans.
Okay.
But sometimes they only offer that. I would prefer the can. Now, I will say I prefer a 12-ounce can over the 16, and I almost prefer the draft over the 16. The 16-ounce can is too big of a can. It is not enjoyable.
So
it's not as enjoyable,
okay,
I should say.
I hear you. To me, the reason why, if you ever see me drinking out of a can, is because I got it from a brewery. Because I know the process of them putting it in the can. It's basically when you open that can, it's like tapping the keg. So I hear totally what you're saying about the can over the draft when you go out to the local establishment. Because you know the quality of that can is probably going to be higher than what is on the draft in the establishment that is not the brewery.
Yeah, I definitely would go, if I had the pick, the 12-ounce can beats the draft. That would be my hierarchy there. The bottle is low on the list.
I'm a big bottle guy.
You like the bottle. I'm not a bottle guy, and even lower on the list is the aluminum bottle.
See, aluminum bottle is fugazi to me. That's fake. That's not real. That's somebody trying to do a marketing campaign scheme.
I don't think it was that. I think what they did with that aluminum bottle was for safety. It was like when you go to a game, you generally see them at sporting events.
Yeah, now I see them being sold at like local establishments too now.
Don't like it. Definitely out on that.
I'm totally out on that. But I do like.
I feel like they don't get cold at all.
To be honest with you, it's been so long since I drank one, I couldn't tell you how cold it is.
Well, the reason that I'm so against them is because they are basically, it's like a tepid beer.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
I love the bottle. I'm a big fan of the bottle in my hand. There's something about holding a bottle of beer in my hand when you're chilling and relaxing. There's just something about the vibe for me.
I like a good can. I have about 500 koozies.
You do have a lot of koozies.
So I like to switch the koozie around based on my mood. Give me a nice cold can for happy hour Friday
The
tonight.
koozie is like your unspoken accessory.
Well, whenever we go travel someplace, anywhere we are, we generally come home with a koozie. We'll get from a college campus, whatever city we were in, whatever country we may have visited. We always try to get a keepsake from there. So we have a drawer in the kitchen. One of the kitchen drawers that is filled with junk. Generally, we have one kitchen drawer that is filled entirely with koozies.
See, you're with the koozie like I am with the hats. I have a drawer just of hats.
Oh, I have so many hats, I don't even know what to do with them. They're all in my closet.
But you're not a big hat wearer.
I don't even wear. I just, have so many hats from baseball and coaching. And
I'm a hat guy.
I don't wear a lot of hats. In fact, other than the baseball field, you never see me with a hat on.
I mean, literally, there's people who know me that make fun of me because they'd be like, I know Josh is here. How? I saw him wearing a backwards hat in the corner.
Yeah, no hats for me. All right, so what is happening tonight? We got the Phils after the sweep of the Tampa Bay Rays. As we see some of the things that are going on with this baseball team over the last 2 weeks, they've won 8 out of 10. Trying to get the temperature on a Friday night, are people starting to warm up to this Phillies team? Is this a team that you're now seeing it come together and feel like, you know what? It's coming together. They got off to a start that was like some things that stood out, but they're figuring it out. It's time now to kind of embrace this team. Are you, as a fan, ready to kind of wrap your arms around this team and give them a big old hug? Are you at that point yet? 609-403-0973. Or do you still have a lot of trepidation about where this team kind of is in the grand scheme of things? Because quite frankly, right now in the NL East, they are a game and a half behind the Mets. They are in the big grand scheme of things in terms of top to bottom in the entire league. I mean, the American League is terrible right now. The AL teams are really not good. It is really, if you look at power rankings right now, I saw the power rankings yesterday. You know where Philly was? I'll give you the league standings
Which
right
website?
now. ESPN. By the way, Tim Kurkjian at 5:30 tonight. No Ryer side today. The Phillies right now in the National League are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in terms of record. They are 2.5 games out from the best record in the National League. On the American League side, you got Detroit is number 1, Seattle is number 2, Cleveland, who you're playing this weekend, is 22-15. They have identical records. So Philly and Cleveland have identical records, and oddly enough, they're both 2.5 games out of the top spot. But there is clearly better teams on the National League side. Not even a question. The Athletics are the 6th best record in the American League. Oakland, Sacramento, or whoever.
Hey, man, that home field or lack of home field advantage is actually working for them, apparently.
I like the home field, small field for them, too, because they were playing that mausoleum where they had nothing. I got to imagine they're drawing at least something out there.
Let me pull it up. Let me see exactly what they're
They're
drawing.
the last in the league in attendance. I did see that, but that's not,
Well, it's a smaller stadium now.
I was saying the attendance of them, the capacity, I should say. But they are behind Tampa in terms of attendance the last I looked there. But this Phillies team is interesting. They have the best starting pitching. Most people agree on that, right? We all agree that the Phillies as a staff, probably the best starting pitching in all of baseball, right? So we're not concerned about that. You don't need any upgrade there. There's no upgrade that you need pitching-wise to the starting rotation. The lineup is what it is, but is it starting to now settle? And I say settle, meaning they're starting to get everything with Stott as the leadoff, Turner as 2, Harper as 3. I'll tell you one thing that stands out about this team right now. They are 22-15, and you are getting very minimal from Bryce Harper.
barely anything.
You've got one of the worst bullpens in baseball
Yep.
over the first month of the season, and yet you've won 8 out of 10, 3 in a row, and you are 22-15. I feel like a Harper hot streak has to be coming, and the bullpen is getting their bearings together here.
Yeah, they're kind of finding themselves a little bit to find some form of consistency at least. Like Romano's no longer imploding every outing or every other outing. You look at what you're getting from Alvarado and Strom have been a stabilizer. I feel like Kurkjian is starting to come around.
I'm not sold yet on Kurkjian.
It's your boy.
It is my boy, but I can be critical of people that I like. I mean, it's crazy how that happens. People think when you like people, I like Bohm. He's been terrible. I like Maury. He had a bad year. I like Rojas. He is low baseball IQ. There are certain players who I generally can say I like, but I can be critical of. People have a big problem with that. They think when you like someone that you're not. I said, I have no problem being tough on guys that I'm a fan of or being critical of guys that I'm a fan of. I think Daryl Morey deserves all the criticism in the world for this season. That doesn't mean I think he stinks at his job. I think he had a bad year. I think, he said, I never had a losing record. Generally, he does a pretty good job of putting teams together. This year was not one of those. Now, if he had a resume of how many years has he been a GM? I don't know, let's say 20. And 14 of the 20 he had built losing teams. My opinion of him would be he's not very good at his job. How does he keep getting chances? When you win 60% of your games, I can understand why Morey keeps getting jobs. I don't have the opinion that a guy that wins 60% of their games is very bad at their jobs. You might not like the result, and I agree with that, but I can't be so ignorant to say he stinks at his job. That's just me. Now, There are certain players. Nick Castellanos, I'm very tough on him. Why? Because you showed me that you can be an MVP-level player when the Phillies signed you, and I'm not getting that from you. So why I like Castellanos, I've been disappointed by the signing. I don't know, throw another player at me that people perceive that I like.
Oh, boy. Who's someone that might kill? Well, see, you said perceive that you like. Because I think some of this is perception versus reality. 'Cause I think some of these guys, you don't like I don't really think that you love some of these people. I think that you feel almost obligated to defend them because people are being so irrational about them.
I just try to be as objective as possible. You're right. It's like Bohm. I feel like people just think Bohm stinks. The guy hits 280. He drives in 97 runs. I like a guy who can drive in 97 runs. I like a guy who hits over 300 with runners in scoring position. I think he's above average defensively. He's gotten way better. He used to be unplayably bad defensively, and I've said that many times. He was unplayably bad at third base. He's gotten much better. Is he a Gold Glover? Not even close. I think he lacks power that I was hoping was going to come. I liked his approach, gap-to-gap hitter. If he gives me the year that he had last year, every year, I'm okay with that. I can handle that guy. I'm all right with that.
Like, for example, a guy that I've observed people constantly rip you for because they act like that you were like the biggest fan of this guy is Ben Simmons. And it wasn't that you were the biggest fan of Ben Simmons, but there were two specific points that you have always made. That number one, he was always going to be the number one overall pick in that draft. He was the surefire number one, and that anybody could have drafted him.
Ben Simmons is a good one by you, by the way. The pool. Yes, I certainly have been criticized by the listeners as being way more pro Ben Simmons than most.
But you were never a Ben Simmons lover, but you looked at him with his skill set and always had said, if this guy plays to a certain level, can you imagine what he can be because of what he did by barely scratching the surface?
Yes, Simmons for me was always frustrating. I appreciated him for what he was good at, was frustrated by what he wasn't good at. I think his 3 years in Philly when he was an all-star player, people didn't appreciate what he did very well and just were critical because he didn't shoot. I got past the fact that he didn't shoot while it was frustrating. And that's why I said this guy could have been a superstar.
Right.
He ended up not being a superstar because he lacked this big hole in his game. But I always looked at it and said, for the fact that this guy doesn't shoot and he's still an all-star level player, that shows you how unbelievably talented he was. And then whatever happened to him, now, I can't even explain, what has happened. The deterioration of his career is
It's a domino effect.
one of the most perplexing. What did he end up doing with the Clippers this year?
I mean, I'll pull up the stats, but I mean, he came up small in the postseason.
Yeah, but I said I wasn't like I thought that Ben Simmons was this unbelievable player. I understand his shortcomings, but I did appreciate what he did well for those 3 years. I think people just didn't like the guy. I don't judge you whether I like you or hate you as a whatever. That doesn't matter to me. Quite frankly, I would say Alec Boehm. Quite frankly, I don't really like his personality. I mean, if you were to say, do you like him? And on the surface, just to look at Boehm, I would say not necessarily. His attitude sometimes is childish. He bothers me, but I'm not going to let that cloud my decision on whether or not I like him as a player or not.
So Ben Simmons played in 18 regular season games for the Clippers this year. He averaged 2.9 points a game.
Jeez.
But he also averaged in those 16 minutes a game, Mike, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, and almost a steal a game in 16 minutes a game.
See, he still does the little things like that pretty well, but Ben Simmons should have been a guy who scored 25 a night.
By the way, the playoff numbers were worse. He averaged less than a point a game.
Was he even in the rotation?
Yeah, he averaged almost 10 minutes a game. He averaged 2 fouls a game in the playoffs.
Bullpen is a roulette table. Walker could be huge if he can close. Well, Walker's not going to close. I mean, that's just, come on. I mean, why would that even cross anybody's mind? Would anybody sit there and watch Taijuan Walker and say, man, he might be the closer? How does that enter anybody's mind?
I don't know. To me, I need Walker to
First off, they threw him 3 innings in the game.
Yeah.
Where are you going to say, hey, the closer's going to go throw 3 innings in a game? I mean,
this isn't 1978.
The bullpen being a roulette table, I don't even know what that means. What is that referring to?
It's the idea that when you're playing roulette, you don't know what you're getting. It's like Russian roulette.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay, if you're saying they're not stable, I mean, but their bullpen has been excellent the last
week and a half.
We talked to Bob earlier. Let me bring the tweet up from Bob Wankel that caught my eye yesterday. No, I don't believe in the bullpen by any stretch of the imagination. But there's been
Walker's
nothing.
Not a closer.
No, I mean, come on. My sister knows that. My sister doesn't know anything about baseball.
Good for your sister. She might be better off that way. Her life might be happier than some of these Phillies fans.
To suggest that Taijuan Walker could be a closer, what are we getting at now? My God. It is Happy Hour Friday.
It is.
It is Happy Hour Friday. I forgot about that. This is a tweet from Bob Wankel. He talked about it earlier on the show. This is the Phillies relievers against Major League Baseball teams, against other teams, since the Cubs series, 11 games. They're 3rd in whip, 4th in batting average against, 2nd in strikeout walk percentage, 2nd in strikeouts per 9, 7th in ERA. FIP, they are 2nd. Expected FIP is 2nd, and their WAR is 4 in the league. So the bullpen has actually somewhat stabilized himself. In terms of like a roulette table, I guess you're suggesting that they don't really have roles. I mean, I don't even know that that's true now. You're seeing that Alvarado is the closer on this team, right? They pretty much have Strom and Alvarado in their high leverage situations. I would say I agree on the right-hand side. I don't know that they have figured out who they want to be in those right hands, but that's every team's trying to figure that out. It's May. I mean, what are we talking about?
I think the bigger problem with the Phillies is kind of gets back to what you said a few minutes ago, Mike, which is there's a lot of guys on this team that you like, but that simultaneously you're critical of, and you want to see more from them because you know more is in there.
Kurkjian.
Well, you started with Kurkjian, but you went to other guys like Boehm and Castellanos. And
Kurkjian, if you just fire off the roster at me, Kurkjian has not met my expectations. Boehm has not hit my expectations. Turner, I don't know what to think about him. We talked about him with Bob Wankel earlier. 310, 376 on base. Feel like his impact is minimal, even with great numbers. Don't know if I'm wrong about that one or not. I don't know. Is Trey Turner having a bigger impact than I'm giving him credit for? I don't know what to think about that. I think Stott has exceeded my expectations. I didn't have a lot of expectation that Stott was going to give me much this year.
But it's exciting to see him do it.
Yeah, no, he's been a big part, I think, of stabilizing the lineup because they put him at the top, and if he failed at that, then what?
Then you would have been really SOL.
Yeah. Kepler's actually exceeded my expectation.
I think Kepler's been kind of what I expected. He was always one of those 240, 250 batting average guys in Minnesota he would hit 20 home runs a year, and you were like, oh, all right.
Matt Cape May Courthouse says, if someone's suggesting Taijuan Walker to be the closer tells you everything you need to know, they will need to address it at the deadline. Yeah, well, Matt, we know you're right about that. They need, and Taijuan Walker's not even an option. I mean, they're not going to close Taijuan Walker in games. It's not happening.
To me, I don't even know if the closer is necessarily the answer. I think they just need more depth in general because if you were to come to me...
They need a right-handed arm that they can trust.
Right.
Like last night, for instance, you're in a game, you have Alvarado and Strahm back-to-back in your high-leverage spots.
Right.
You know?
The problem is that they brought in Romano thinking he was going to give you something, right? And he started the year so bad that now we're having to rehabilitate his confidence so you can end up having confidence in him.
By the way, Bryce Harper last year in April, March, hit 230. He had 6 homers early, 230. In May, he hit 313 with a 407 on base, 7 homers, 24 ribbies. In June, he hit 374 with a 452 on base, 7 homers, 16 RBI. In July, he hit 149. Jeez. August, 298. September, 325 with a 394 ERA. So he got off to a slow start last year as well.
So he's a roller coaster ride. He starts the season out low until he gets to a peak, and then he drops down again, and then he comes back up.
A lot of baseball players are roller coaster rides. I mean, baseball's a really tough game to keep consistent. But over his career, he's been pretty consistent. 282 in April, March, 271 in May, 290 in June, 260 in July, 300 in August, 274 in September. I mean, his on-base percentage in the first month of the season, 407, 375, 389, 371, 396, 390. I mean, we shouldn't have any concern about Bryce Harper. That's moral of that story, right? I will, though, real quick. Harper's been disappointing. There's no question about that. Stott has exceeded my expectations. Turner, I don't want to say he's been bad, just nondescript, vanilla. It's still ice cream, but it's vanilla ice cream. It's good, but it's vanilla. I don't know how to describe it.
It might be the best vanilla you ever had, but it's still vanilla.
Is it cherry vanilla? There's a little bit of something in there. Black cherry? I don't know. Bohm has been disappointing.
You're a black cherry guy?
I like black cherry.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Bohm has been disappointing. Kepler's exceeded I had no expectations for Kepler. I thought it was a waste of a signing for the most part. He's been better than I could have imagined. Rojas, I guess, has exceeded my expectations. I don't really have much expectation for Rojas. Marsh has been a complete dud. Castellanos
he is what he is.
Has not exceeded my expectations at all. Real Muto, I'm kind of meh on Real Muto, the offensive player. Defensively, he threw out his 8th runner of the season last night, so I still like him defensively. As an offensive player, though, I have no excitement when Real Muto steps to the plate. All 5 pitchers in the rotation, other than Nola, I think have exceeded expectations or been what I thought. Nola's been somewhat disappointing, but I think he's kind of turning around. Kurkjian has been a disappointment. I think Alvarado's exceeded my expectations. You're at the point now where you actually trust Alvarado again.
100%.
Yeah.
Alvarado pretty much is if not your best, one of your
and
two
by the
best
way,
pitchers. In the
Strahm, who made the All-Star game last year, one of the concerns I had was, can this guy be that good again? I don't know if he's as good as he was last year, but he's at least on par.
He's trustworthy. He might be your most trustworthy arm, actually.
There's a look at the Phils. They're playing Cleveland tonight. The lineup is out. The only difference in the lineup tonight, Marsh is out. Rojas is in. Real Muto is out. Marchand is in. So Nola and Marchand is the battery tonight.
Yeah, they're reunited after 2 games. What's going to happen now?
When we come back, Tim Kurkjian, ESPN. What does he think about the Phillies through the first month or so of the baseball season? Does he have major concerns, and would he pull the trigger on an early trade? That's up next, right here on the Sports Bash, live on 97.3 ESPN. to sideline any guy out there. Their expert team understands your frustration and is ready to help you reclaim your passion in person and purpose, I should say. Yeah, you got to go in person, but discover your T levels, create a game plan, and begin treatment. Come in now. Come in this weekend. Come in Monday morning for a complimentary testosterone test and consultation. Game Day Men's Health, Egg Harbor Township, 3069 English Creek Avenue, Egg Harbor Township, 609-365-7088. What are you waiting for, guys? Make this the best summer of your adult life. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. Going to be catching up with Tim Kurkjian, ESPN, Sunday Night Baseball, the Phillies and the Guardians this weekend right here. You can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, the Phillies coming off of a sweep of the Rays. We'll dive into who the Phillies are right now. Who is this Phillies team? We'll find out a little bit more, get a little closer look from one of the best in the game when it comes to talking baseball. Tim Kurkjian set to join us right now on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. So, Tim, welcome back to the show, man. How you been?
I've been fine. Everything's good. How about you?
Everything's good, except Phillies fans. Nothing's ever fine here, right? You're watching a team that is just got a sweep. But Philly fans, believe it or not, Tim, tend to look at the negative. Are you surprised by that?
No, of course not. But this is why they're such great fans, because they're sophisticated, they're demanding, and they're tough. And I love Philly fans. I've said many times, Citizens Bank Park is the best venue in baseball these days when it comes to crazy fans, good team, great baseball atmosphere. And yes, it hasn't been a great start for the Phillies. A lot of things have gone wrong, and yet they're right there in the division race. So I would tell all Philly fans, just relax. This is going to be fine.
Tim, you've been doing this a long time, and I'm not trying to date you, but you do have a historical look back at things. The Phillies are 22-15 as we hit May. What do you think about April, early May baseball in today's world as opposed to maybe 10, 15 years ago? I mean, are things different how we now look at things with early season baseball games?
Yeah, I think things have changed, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just because there are more playoff opportunities, but just remember the Nationals in 2019 started out 19-31. They lost 31 out of 50 to start the season, and they won the World Series. Look at the Tigers last year. The Tigers weren't even close to being a playoff caliber team until they won a game in Williamsport on a Sunday night, and suddenly they just took off and not only made the playoffs, but won a playoff series. The point is, you cannot panic, unless you're a Rockies fan, of course. You can't panic after a month and a half of the season. The game is so difficult to play. It takes a little while to find your team, your footing, your roles, whatever it is. And so I don't ever completely get worried about a team, especially, say, in the American League where there are no great teams. Different story in the National League, so many good ones. But the point is, I'm not worried at all where the Phillies are right now because it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, 8 out of 10. The Phillies have won 3 straight down in Tampa. They're 22-15 entering this matchup with the Guardians. You can hear it on Sunday Night Baseball. Tim will be in the studio for that. Also, he'll be a part of the broadcast tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. If you are a Pirate fan, you could probably panic. Braves, after a slow start, they are back in the division race. But when I say 22-15 Philadelphia, and we're all saying there's more negative, what are some of the things that still worry us about Philly? Because when the Phillies put this team together and kept it together, the fan base said, all right, we've seen this act and some of the same problems. Are any of the things you're seeing fixable?
I think virtually all of them are fixable. They've got Ranger Suarez back, which is great news. Aaron Nola was really good the last time out. That's really good news after a horrendous start by an incredibly durable and reliable pitcher. That's not going to continue. No way. Their bullpen has had some issues. There's a bit of a concern there, especially late in the games, but they have power arms all through that bullpen. And, the offense hasn't been great, but it's only a matter of time before Harper and Turner and everyone on this team really starts to hit Real Muto also. This is a really good offensive team, but in this day and age, with the stuff that you see on a nightly basis, big slumps are going to happen from big players because it's just so hard to get a hit in today's day and age.
You mentioned Turner. He's an interesting one. I don't know if he's just not connected or what it is with him, but he signs that big deal. I don't know. Is he deemed like, they haven't really got their bang for their buck? And then you look at him, Tim, he's hitting, there's few guys in the league hitting over 300 anymore. He's hitting 310 with a 376 on base. Rob Thompson said, don't worry about homers. What do you make of this Trait deal and his fit kind of in Philadelphia? Is it what you envisioned when they added him to a team that went to the World Series after the 2022 season?
Yeah, he's a really good player, and he is susceptible, like every other player in the big leagues, Aaron Judge included, to slumps because, again, this is the hardest hitting environment I know that I've ever seen in all the years that I've covered. Trea Turner is a streaky guy, as we have seen. He struggled so badly that I got a standing ovation during a terrible stretch and then came out and played exceptionally well. He can play shortstop for me every day, and you just have to wait, like with most players, for him to get hot. And he's going to get really hot soon, and the power is going to come. So I wouldn't worry about Trea Turner. He's going to be a really important player and a really good player for them as the season goes along.
A couple quick ones on big picture here. They've got Rojas and Marsh. Are they satisfied with that, or is that something that they will be looking to upgrade?
Well, Dave Dombrowski's never satisfied with anything until he's absolutely certain that we've got everyone in place, and I'm not so sure about Marsh and Rojas. However, with the defense that both of them, especially Rojas, provides, they're going to get a little bit more rope to start to hit a little bit more. But I don't think the Phillies have to do anything in a major way in an acquisition. Just some guys, including Alec Bohm, just have to start hitting the way that we know that they can. Because, again, most guys hit slumps and then figure it out. I think the Phillies are going to be that way. And I don't think they need to make a major trade, but I promise you, Dave Dombrowski is always, always, always looking to upgrade somehow. And he has proven a million times he's fearless when it comes to trading players, even as young players, in order to get what he needs to get where he wants to go during a season.
Tim Kurkjian's with us. Sunday Night Baseball is on 97.3 ESPN, Phillies and Guardians. You mentioned it's not in his DNA to not do something. Is it in his DNA, though, to bring up a young player like Justin Crawford? Do you think he would be an option for them if Rojas, Marsh, Rojas has been pretty solid. Marsh coming around a little bit the other night. He had a couple hits. He had a big hit last night. But is Crawford a guy that you would keep your eye on?
Of course. And I'm a big believer in bringing up a young player who appears to be ready. And I think it's better to bring up a young guy into a winning environment surrounded by veteran players, Schwarber, Harper, many others, in order when he does come up, they're not all looking at him like, say, the Royals did when Alex Gordon came up or the Orioles did when Matt Wieters came up, and people said, great, the savior is here, when that's not the thing to do for a young player. Bring a young player up when all he has to do is hit down in the order, get his feet wet, contribute, produce here and there in order to see how ready he is. So I'm not suggesting that's going to happen anytime soon. But again, Dave Dombrowski is fearless. He will trade young players. He will bring up young players. He has such a great feel for what this team has. And nothing would surprise me about where the Phillies might go.
All right, Tim Kurkjian, Phillies have a lot of things happening here. What you hear, or what are you hearing on Andrew Painter, and are you intrigued? Everybody needs pitching. The Phillies seem to have a surplus of it. how they are going to incorporate Painter into this mix with the 5 guys they currently have. Plus, Walker was pitching pretty well. He got bounced to the bullpen. What are we thinking about what the Phillies might do with Painter and how that will all, if everybody's healthy? I mean, it all relies on health, but they got 5 pretty good guys right now, and Painter waiting in the wings. What do we think about that whole situation down the road here?
Well, if Painter's ready to pitch in the big leagues, they should bring him up and let him pitch in the big leagues. Anyone who was that highly regarded before he got hurt, and he comes back and throws 100 miles an hour, you can't say we're just going to let him languish in the minor leagues the rest of the year. You get him up as soon as you can, and then you figure out what are we going to do with everyone else. I mean, just look at the Dodgers. The depth that they had in their starting rotation this year was absolutely absurd, and now they're searching for pitching because so many guys have gotten hurt. Somebody in the Phillies rotation is going to get hurt because it just happens, and then you bring up Andrew Painter and say, let's see what you can do. Again, I'm a big believer when a guy has all that you need to play on the big league level, let's give him a chance, see what he can do, and if he fails, he's going to be better when he goes back to work on some things. He'll be better the second time around.
Painter, by the way, 3 innings last night, 1 hit. He did walk the bases loaded. He had 5 strikeouts. He threw 34 strikes. Fastball 98 miles an hour. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Suarez, a free agent. Is that a guy you're keeping an eye on if they use him possibly? They need a bullpen arm. We can agree on that?
Yes, everyone needs a bullpen arm, including the Phillies. And given that Suarez is such a flexible pitcher, meaning he can seemingly pitch in any situation, I think he would be a perfect guy to go to the bullpen. But I need to see him as a starting pitcher again to make sure that he's not a really, really good starting pitcher again, as he has been at times in his Phillies career. So let's give him a chance to go back as a starter. If that doesn't work and you have every other starter going well, then you can move him back in. It should be and again, these are great problems that the Phillies have because they have depth, especially in the rotation, that other teams simply don't have.
I know a lot of teams would love Philadelphia's problems. Philly fans have seen this thing be disappointing. Arizona knocked out by the Mets, same group of guys. A lot of people wondering if they need a little shakeup, that right-handed bat somewhere in the middle. They moved the lineup around. Schwarber's 4. They've got Stott at the top. We'll see how long this thing goes. Tim Kurkjian is here on Sunday Night Baseball. You'll see him as part of that coverage. And also tomorrow you'll hear him as part of the Braves and Pirates. Real quick, I'll get you a quick thought on the Braves stuff. Are they back? They're back in this thing, right? They had a terrible start, but they have settled the ship and rebounded. They're back in this?
I agree. I think they have a chance now to be the first team ever to start out 0-7 and make the playoffs. Now they have some work to do because this is not the same Braves team we're used to seeing, but they're going to get Spencer Strider back before June. They're going to get Ronald Acuna Jr. back before June. Now we'll see how each one of them does after as much time off as they have. Of course, Strider came back for one start, then went back on the IL, but I really like the rebound that the Braves have made, and I think just the lesson is do not count out the Braves. Remember, when they won the World Series a few years ago, they were not a great team at the beginning of August. Then they fortified their outfield with a bunch of trades and just took off and won the World Series. So dangerous team, very dangerous team moving forward.
All right, Tim Kurkjian, everybody, kind enough to join us here on this happy hour Friday. Phil's getting ready for the Cleveland Guardians. Should be a fun series. And, of course, you can hear Sunday Night Baseball, Phillies and Guardians, right here on 97.3 ESPN. Tim, always appreciate it, pal.
My pleasure. Thank you.
There you go. Tim Kurkjian, everybody here. A lot of great stuff from there. Bring up the guys up to a winning environment. I like that comment there with Painter. He pitched well last night. Figure out what to do with everyone else. He said every team needs a bullpen arm. The Phillies included in that. He also mentioned Crawford. Of course, he would be an option for Tim Kurkjian. He said Dombrowski's never satisfied with anything. Let's see what Dombrowski's thinking. And then I thought the last comment I thought that I jotted down here is he doesn't think the Phillies have to do anything, major. So do we agree with that comment? Let me know on the text board, 609 403-0973. That's going to wrap us up. I got the Bet365 play of the day still to come. The Phillies tonight against the Guardians. Looking forward to the weekend series. Thanks to Tim Kurkjian for joining me right here on the Sports Bash.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe? No-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m.? Big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas? The ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk. Real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
KFC has $7 chicken and waffles, juicy hand-breaded chicken, rich syrup-drizzled waffles, and it's just so awesome that you can go to KFC right now while I'm stuck in this recording booth. So fun that you can literally just go out and get sweet and savory chicken and waffles, and I'm in here telling you about it. Love this for me. Try new KFC chicken and waffles for an envy-inducing $7 or feed the group for $25. Prices and participation vary while supplies last. Taxes, tips, and fees extra.
Step into softness with the carpet upgrade from the Home Depot. Our stylish choices and simple prices make selecting new carpet simple. With our total project price match guarantee and installation starting just 49 cents per square foot, nobody beats our prices. Enjoy our everyday low prices on carpet with the softness and durability to take on anything life throws its way. Refresh with new carpet today from the Home Depot. Base price for standard installations only. Exclusions apply. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
All right, get ready to get out of here. Happy Hour Friday, everybody. Got a couple Happy Hour Friday picks that I missed here, Josh. What do we got? You got anything?
Yeah, I see George from Galloway texted. He says, my two most recent discoveries are Tonewood Rift it's good for people who like fruity ones, complex flavor profile without the nasty artificial aftertaste. He says also
the Tonewood Rift, did he say?
Rift.
Haven't had that one.
He also
I'm not a big fruity beer guy, but to each their own. I have no criticism of it. I'm just saying it's not my style generally.
He also says Second Fiddle DIPA. He says it's just a beer in its purest form. Heavy on the ABV, though.
Fiddlehead? Or Second Fiddle, you said?
Second Fiddle.
Gotcha. All right. This one says, for my taste buds, a good bottled beer is like Coca-Cola out of a glass bottle. I can't do cans of beer anymore unless it's a Guinness, which is weird. He says, I won't do draft either. Am I weird? LOL. Well, you're not weird for not doing the draft. I think it's weird that you like can of Guinness. Guinness is the one thing that I don't generally like out of the can.
Yeah, to me, Guinness feels like it has to be draft, doesn't it?
Generally, the draft is a Guinness thing. It's something to do with like the pressure and
the pressurization inside the tank.
Yeah. But hey, had beer last weekend, I guess it was. Had to be Clowns is the name of the beer. It had to be Clowns. I don't know that you're going to find it around here. I gave it a 3.75 on the old Untapped app there. Had a signature IPA from Yards Brewing. Tried a little Yards signature IPA. It was all right. Wasn't like knock my socks off good. But it had to be Clowns. If you can find that one. Headbanger from Seventh Son Brewery. Bang! That thing got a 4. That thing was tasty.
Nice.
Very, very good. Check that one out. What else did I have? I had one more on I actually drank a Brotherton IPA. They're out of business, though. I don't know if you can still get one, but if you can find one somewhere, the Brotherton IPA I thought was pretty good. Snouts and Stouts had a beer in Hamilton. Alfie's IPA. It's called Alfie's IPA. It's at Snouts and Stouts Brewing out in Hamilton. I think that's all I got for you this week.
Nice.
If you can get to the Seed, if they have a place to rest, I don't know if it's on tap for them right now, but that beer is phenomenal. That's a 4+ banger right there for you.
All righty then.
Got anything else here? Going through my last.
You got a Bet365 play of the day.
Oh, I forgot about my Bet365 play of the day. How'd I do last night?
Well, Mike, you won on a technicality.
Okay.
The number you gave out was correct. But the number I found on all the sports books was not the number you gave out. So, yes, the game was under 210.5. But apparently, Mike Gill was the only person who had 210.5 because everywhere else it was 201 or 202.5.
Maybe I was reading it dyslexically.
So, technically, you were right. If people listened to you and took the alternate line, they would have gotten it right. So, you are now 162, 109, and 1.
All right, I like the Cavs tonight. They're getting it's their favorite 4.5. I like the Cavs.
Bounce back.
Yeah, I think the Cavs at a good spot here. Feels very Cavsy tonight. Everybody thinks the Pacers, they've won 2, they're at home, and yet Cleveland minus 4.5. I'll take that. It feels Cavsy to me.
Who's more likely to win their series real quick? Knicks or Pacers?
Pacers.
So the Cavs will only win tonight. Got it.
You won't. If you give me, I didn't say either one of them. I was just choosing of the options. I'm out of here.